but they brought in so many of us that knew what we were talking about and knew the game inside out and knew how to abuse certain mechanics in the game. And unfortunately, a lot of some of the people that were working on incursions, and I'm not going to, throw anyone under the bus, just ignored us and thought they knew better. And then it took months for stuff that we said on day one that should have been fixed. Like I remember the little pistol on the tank class. What was
Yeah.
it? The 1,000 rate of fire. I don't remember what it was called. We said that day one, remove that. Took them 8 months to say, okay, let's remove it. You know what I mean? Like it's just so much time wasted on stuff that we said from day one. Let's do this, and this. Like I remember, like this still triggers me to this day. Like when they introduced 5-man queue into ranked for incursions, and I was like, if you do this, incursion is gonna die, and no one's gonna play this shit anymore. What happened 2 weeks later? Everyone was stacking. Incursions died. The little activity
Yeah,
incursions
or
still had
leaving,
left,
or player will
everyone
just
died
leaving.
because obviously you have people like I don't know at the time like EXE or actually EXE wasn't stacking at the time, but a lot of competitive teams, even average competitive teams, were stacking and destroying anyone. But it was normal. Like go find the scrim instead of trying to stack pubs and climb the rankings. But when you allow these people to do this, you can't complain because you've enabled it. Before the queue was like 2-man queue, wasn't it? Two, and then they did three
Yeah.
for a period. The moment you go above 2-man queue, you sign the fade off of stuff like that. So at this point, just give us the tools on day one and let us do it. Because if you don't give us the tools on day one, anything that we're planning like now, like we're already planning stuff for the next Battlefield, the moment you don't give me tools on day one, I have to scrap all those plans.
BrettFX is here, legendary Battlefield esports shoutcaster. He shoutcasted Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, I think, and Battlefield 5 a little bit, or not anymore. I'm not sure. We will
I've cast every Battlefield since Battlefield 3.
every Battlefield. And then Codename Deuce, the president
Oh,
of
snap.
the ESB League, and of course, a very sweaty, competitive player who's, I think, Assault, right?
Yes. Wow. She's done her research. This is scary.
Well, I'm trying. So, but again, guys, thank you all for being here in chat. I hope you prepared some questions. I got some questions up front on our Discord. I'm very excited to share them with you guys tonight. People are very excited for the game. I can feel that. I feel a fresh breeze coming from DICE and EA right now. I don't know about you. Do you feel this fresh breeze right now going on? What you see on Twitter with these kind of new marketing campaigns, or how do you feel about that, guys?
To be honest with you, I'm at a stage right now in my Battlefield love that I am kind of just waiting to see what happens. I'm not really too excited right now. I'm not negative about anything. I'm just, I'll see when it actually comes out. The marketing stuff, it looks better than what we've seen. It's very reminiscent of what we had back in Battlefield 3. So that's, kind of goes along with all the leaks and rumors and whatnot that they're trying to incorporate more of what made Battlefield 3 and 4, special. And I think that meant more or less as a whole, as opposed to just straight gameplay, just marketing, structure and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but we'll see when it actually gets here.
No, I understand that. I understand
Yeah, I
that.
think for us it's different because I think I'm excited because I feel like either this one does really well Battlefield wise, or they can just scrap the whole franchise and just like throw it in the trash can. I think we're at a point of like you can't get it wrong. So I'm excited because of that because I'm like we finally are gonna have a good Battlefield game after the past two were kind of meh in my opinion. At the same time, I think the reason Brett and myself are kind of cautious about this is because we've seen so much and we've had so many expectations in the past and we're just not trying to get disappointed. So there's like this level of excitement and trying not to get disappointed and we're trying to just balance that out, I think. So
No,
unlike regular fans having seen what we've seen, there's just a little more like, since it's such a big part of our lives, like let's not get hurt, kind of thing.
maybe we can start there to give the guys here in chat who don't know you a little bit an overview about what you have seen, who you are. Brett, how many shotguns did you do? Like around Hundreds? Thousands?
Are you talking about shoutcasting like
Yeah.
from the time I started
Yes.
to now? Oh
Yeah.
Lord, there's,
Do you know?
there's no telling. I mean, it's probably in the thousands. I would say I probably spent roughly 2,000 hours in Battlefield 4 alone in the spectator mode for all kinds of matches. I've been around the block when it comes to casting Battlefield. That is for sure. So, you know, my experience with it, we could talk all day about it. We're not going to, but you know, I've been there from Battlefield 3 onwards. I've been involved in the casting as well as the tournament organizing, and also giving feedback to the developers about spectator mode and about competitive settings and whatnot. So, you know, to like what Deuce was saying, like I've been flown around the world literally to sit in a room, play an early build of a game, and then give my feedback on it. So, and feedback is not always taken, which is obvious. You know, it's not always, but you know, when you have anywhere from when did Battlefield 3 come out? It's like 2011.
2011, yeah.
Give feedback for, you know, almost 10 plus years, and you know, sometimes you hammer it in their head for those 10 years and they still don't listen. It kind of makes you a little bit jaded at it at the same time. But like I said, I mean, I'm to a point right now to where I kind of get to enjoy being a just regular consumer now, as opposed to before where I was heavily involved. You know, I got to play early builds. I got to see early concepts. I got to, you know, give feedback and all that kind of stuff. Like I kind of knew what was going to be happening and the direction it was going. So I didn't get to kind of enjoy just in the surprise of whatever happens and then have my reaction then. Whereas I get to do it now.
Mm-hmm. But and back to you as a shoutcaster, how did you start? Like, I mean, the technology was so different back then, like what we have now. You know, I mean, I would like to know that actually, because I think this could be quite funny.
So, yeah, I'll try not to make this too long. So, first and foremost, if you are getting into casting right now, you are absolutely lucky, because most of everything that you have to do is pretty much taken care of. It is easy, in a sense, to cast now. When I started getting into commentating, mine wasn't even the worst. If you go back in the Battlefield 2 days, it was even worse, but I'm not going to talk on that one because I wasn't a part of it. But in Battlefield 3, myself and Daskro, we actually would take video submissions. So you would have your match, you would record it, and Code actually sent in his fair share back in the day for PS3. But you would record it, you would send it in, and then Daskro and myself, we would watch the entire video. Every person who sent theirs in, anywhere from 3 to, I think we had 6 people on one of them. That was the longest. We would watch every one of those videos from start to finish. We would then line them up in a program called Adobe Premiere, and we would make sure that they're all on the same timestamps. And then we would render that video out with all of the views on it. Then once that video was rendered out, we would send it to our co-caster so that he could watch it. And then I would sit there in Adobe Premiere and hit record, and we would start at the exact same time. And then I would actually switch the views as it was recording in Adobe Premiere in order to get that multiple perspective feeling. And it was the most time-consuming, tedious thing I have ever done. And if I ever have to do it again, I will straight up refuse, because I am past that. But yeah, we had to do a lot. And then moving on later into Battlefield 3. Oh, it was. And then moving later on into Battlefield 3, we actually had it was basically a hack that was written for the game. And at the same time, there was another one that was called the cinematic tool for Battlefield 3. This was not the cinematic tool. But before this hack, we also tried stuff like using a MAV to do a free cam. Well, that had its problems because 1, it was grayed out all the time, and 2, because obviously it spotted the other team. Yes. That was a bad thing. Then we tried using the spawn screen. If you guys remember, you could actually see kind of past the spawn screen, like it was kind of like overlaid and opaque, so you could kind of see through it. We used that. Well, that was terrible because obviously you couldn't see everything that was there. We also tried doing it a classic Bad Company 2 way, which was You literally spawn in the game, run to a neutral point within the map that you know no action is going to be happening, and you literally just take some sort of like a 6 or 8 times scope and watch the game happen from a distance. But that all went away in Battlefield 3 when we had a hack written for it. I cannot remember the guy's name for the life of me. I feel so bad, but he was partnered up with Level BF at the time. And what it basically did is it detached the camera view from the player model. So we still had to go into the game. We were still spawned in the game. We had to go find a place that was safe within a spawn. And then we would activate this this camera, and it would allow us to go into free cam and move about the map freely. We would also be able to do stuff like set waypoints. So we had up to 4 different waypoints that we could set so that we just hit a button and it would snap right to it. Didn't matter where we were on the map. We also had a rail system that was built for it. So we could actually create a certain points on the map and then hit a button, and then it would go around on a rail, and you could just move the camera and it would be moving by itself. So we did that for Battlefield 3. And then of course, Battlefield 4, we had our own spectator mode. So we got to do away with all of that. But yeah, for those of you who may think that, oh my God, casting is so difficult now because you got so much that you have to worry about. Well, think of all the production that you have to do as a solo caster, and then add in all of the BS crap that I just mentioned to have to do. Oh, and by the way, if you were using that hack that I was telling you about and you died, your game crashed. Your entire game crashed. You ended up taking a ticket away from the team that you were on, and you had to reload back into the game. So it was by no means perfect or easy, but back then, and Code will agree with me, it was a labor of love. We genuinely loved the game beyond anything. And that was, I mean,
isn't it
was
incredible?
A second life for us.
Isn't it incredible how the community tried to push Battlefield into esports? Like,
and still do.
I mean, yeah, and still do, exactly. It's like, I mean, it's not like they have never tried. It just didn't. I mean, we don't have to talk about that now, but I'm just saying it's really interesting. It's hours and hours of work you put in there, and I mean, in the end, I feel like you did it because it was your passion, If you feel like you would meet today somebody who's like, who wants to get into shoutcasting, who wants to be good at it, or let's say he wants to be great at it, would you recommend him to, well, let's say to learn? I mean, in the end, it's learning, right?
So the thing that I would recommend to somebody, so it's funny that you say a great shoutcaster. I don't really think that you can have a great shoutcaster because it's really dependent. Casting is very subjective to the viewer, in my opinion. There are casters that I absolutely adore. I think that they are the best casters in the world, but they don't get near the popularity or recognition that other casters do because of certain elements that other people find better. So in my opinion, if you just want to be a caster and you want to try and be more successful than just your average random streamer that's on there, the first thing that you got to do is just get out there and cast. You can't worry about, well, do I know enough about the game? Is there, will people laugh at me if I don't know certain aspects of it or whatnot? I've dealt with that all the way up to right now. The anxieties and the apprehension towards getting into a new scene or getting into a game is pretty high for just about anybody. The way I got over it when I initially got into Battlefield was I knew the game forwards and backwards so well that when I saw Daskro first put up his cast of one of my matches, I was like, you're missing a whole lot of really cool stuff that needs to be said. Now, nothing against Daskro. He's a fantastic caster. I love the guy. I think he is he is the reason why I got into casting. So I will always be thankful for that. But there were aspects that he was missing out that I decided, hey, I can go do that. I was nervous as hell the first cast that I ever did.
Give me an example
of
aspects you think he was missing, and you.
So Daskro was more or less he tried to go into more analytic type stuff, but when he was casting, he definitely did more of a I would say play-by-play, and sometimes he would get onto these weird tangents. Like there would be an in-game like bird flying around and he's like looking at a bird, like stuff like that. Like just kind of as a player back then when I was like super serious about this, it kind of irked me. And
I
so
it
what
was really like missing, not like another feature. I thought you were seeing something within the game, you know.
no,
that
no, no,
he
I
was.
was. So like what
Okay.
I was really wanting to get in there for was, you know, I wanted to tell the reason why players were doing certain things, why they were using certain strats, why were they using certain guns, why they played in the way that they played, being able to tell the viewers what the team was going to do before the team even did it, because we know how that team is supposed to be played. You know, explain the strategies and be able to tell you as to what strategy is bad and why it's bad, or why this particular play failed, that type of stuff. So that's why I wanted to start casting, because I thought I could bring that element to the cast that was missing from Dasker's. Now, my obviously casting, it evolved greatly to what it is right now. And, you know, that's one of those things to where, you know, going back to as a caster, you are going to have to develop your own way of casting. So get over the apprehension, get over the, you know, anxiety of going out there and doing a match, because here's the thing. The first one that you do is going to suck. The second one that you do, it's going to suck. The third one, it's going to suck. In fact, to you as a caster, when you go back and watch them yourself, every cast that you do is going to have something wrong with it. Every one of
You're talking
But-
about me.
yeah. Talking about everybody.
Exactly.
I look back when I was really at the top of my casting game, in my opinion, in 2015, 2016, I could go back into a cast and I was like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. But you have to just get over it and just cast, because people are going to find things about you that they like. They're going to find things about your commentary that they like. And not everybody is going to agree on it. You know, I kind of, I was mentioning this to, I think it was, well, maybe it actually been you, Code, that I was talking to you about this a couple months ago. You know, Lycan, another Battlefield 5 caster, you know, he likes to put his face cam on the screen when he casts. That drives me up the wall. I hate that. In my opinion, my own opinion, and I love Lycan. He's a great caster. I like watching him cast. But my opinion, the cast should not have anything to do with the caster other than his voice and enthusiasm. Other than that, the only time you see the caster is in between maps. But he has developed his own style and people like it. People in his chat watch him and they like that style, and that's fine. And that's what you have to do as a caster. You have to just go out there, do your own cast and do your thing. Exactly. Now, obviously, if you want to start doing it for money, you know, if Code was to sit there and say, hey, we've got a LAN that's going to be happening, we're going to be offering you a contract to do 2 days worth of casting, you're going to have to play by their rules. You can't do it the way you want to do it. You have to do it by the way they want to, because obviously they're the ones that are funding it and they're the ones that are contracting.
Yeah, sure.
But so there is going to be, you know, obviously some changes that have to happen. But, you know, as a caster, you need to make sure that you're also going to be having fun with the game. If you're trying to cast just to get views or just to get money or just to try and get out there and make some quick cash, you're not going to have good luck.
Especially not in Battlefield.
Exactly.
Special.
Yeah, Battlefield is just not a landscape for anything like that. It is a good landscape though to learn, to cut your teeth on things right now, because a scene as small as Battlefield at the moment, there are a lot of people out there who are craving some kind of coverage of their matches. Okay, and there's not a whole lot of casters out there, or at least not that I know of in Battlefield. I honestly haven't been around the scene in a couple of years, but that was the same way it was back in Battlefield 3 and 4 for me. When Battlefield 3, when I got into casting, there were 2 people that were casting. It was Daskro, and I can't remember the other guy, but he really didn't cast. Really, all he did was just had a free cam up, and he didn't really speak a whole lot. That was it. So there were 2 people who were doing any kind of content coverage of it. In Battlefield 4, I was really the only North American person who was doing it. There was a couple South Americans, there was a few Europeans, and obviously ESL had their own casters that were providing coverage, but for the most part, nobody was there doing it. and people were craving that coverage, so they did flock to my channels. But you know, when you have a small scene, that is something that can absolutely benefit you. And something like Call of Duty or Rainbow Six or Valorant, casters are a dime a dozen. Honestly, like I go into a league now for Call of Duty and I can't even move without bumping into a caster. There's at least 20 of them in a channel, and Code, you know as well as I do, if we had 20 casters back in, Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1, we would have absolutely loved that, because it would have made things a hell of a lot easier for us.
How did you guys meet? Like, what's your story here? You both.
How did we meet?
When and how?
It was back in PS3 days for Battlefield 3, and Code submitted. What was it?
I used
it was
to,
a World Cup.
It was Team USA versus Team Finland. It was a what was it? World Nation Tournament final. I think it was I think it was the second or third tournament. I don't remember. But this was when like this stuff was just starting up, and Dasker and Brett and all the others were just cutting up footage, and like us were just sending multiple POVs. That was good times, and that was like it was so exciting because it was like such a new thing. Like as a player, you never had someone talk about your matches, and as a competitive player, that's all you aspire to, right? We were all competing at such a high level, but no one was watching apart from maybe some people were streaming early, but it was such in the early days of like competitive play, so not everyone had a chance to stream. Streaming was complicated. A lot of people had capture cards, but not the internet to stream that. It was such a different landscape to what competitive is now and esports is.
This was back in the day when if you could pump out 720, 30 frames a second, freaking rocking.
When that GameChanger HD from Elgato came out, that was like prime time, like.
Hot shit.
Yeah.
Well, maybe can you give us a little bit of a background about you, quick, Deuce? Can you tell us what made you create the ESB League, and what's your background maybe as an EA GameChanger? I think you're also an EA GameChanger, right?
I am. Okay, so well, I used to be a COD player. This was like back in the COD 4 days. I was like, playing local LAN events here. I was really like, motivated in the scene. And then Black Ops came out at the time, the first Black Ops, and I hated it. I hated the movement. I hated the changes compared to Modern Warfare. I hated it completely. And my college roommate, funny enough, was like, you should try Battlefield. There's Bad Company 2. Let's play, blah, blah, blah. So I started playing it. I'll never forget this. So it's thanks to him that ESB is going to think, because this probably would have never happened otherwise. So, those coincidences in life. And then, Battlefield 3 was alpha, beta. I played all of those. And then I was just really enjoying it. And then as soon as Battlefield 3 came out, I think the first 2 weeks, I got recruited into a team. And at the time it was called, for this is history stuff for people in the chat. I don't think most people know this. A team called Call Your Shot. And at the time there was like Call Your Shot, and there was like TAO and on the PlayStation scene, like some of the top teams. And then I just started competing at a high level, and I just kind of went with it. And then the problem with that is that every event was kind of like a community event with just people doing stuff in between themselves. And there was a lot of weird stuff going on, like admins favoring their friends and kind of giving points to their, to their teammates, or doing some shady shit. And I was, that's my biggest pet peeve. I cannot have people, ruin the spirit of competition. And so when Battlefield 3 was ending, I had such enough of everything. And I was like, you know what? Let's do this. And so we did ESB. We brought it was initially a French project. And then I was like, look, I'm known everywhere in the world. I'm a top player. I have the connections to all the teams, all the players, everyone. Let's bring this to, Europe and North America and everywhere. And so we started that off as kind of a joke, to be honest. Like, let's just reunite the community and show that, we have the numbers, we can do something serious, and I knew I had the organizational capability to do something, but, it kind of started off, let's just do something small. And then it turned to a company, and we built the brand. And then ESB League came out of that, which ESB League came out of actually something else, which was the name something else at the beginning. And then we did other events. We did the LAN 2 years ago. We did the studio playoffs. So, I think it's funny because as a company, it's grown so much. Obviously, the problem has been that we could have had so much more growth because of what we can do, but the games have never helped us. Such big plans. Even at the beginning of BF4, like, We had even Burn Controllers and so many other companies ready to sponsor events. But for the first 8 months, Battlefield 4 was broken and didn't have servers. So everything was dropped. Same thing happened BF1. We finally get servers. You know, would have 4 months after the game was released, 5 months. So all these plans for Battlefield 1.
Yeah, it was I think in February when they dropped because. Yeah, and I was actually working on a different project at the same time in Battlefield 1.
Do you think they should, sorry that I interrupt you, but do you think they should think about incursions again? I was
just give, at this point, just give us the tools to do it ourselves. Like have a game mode and have everything on day one so we can work with it. But
the problem right now with so the problem now is that with DICE and EA not coming through on a lot of their promises and over promising and under delivering through Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, especially with the canceled mode, there is a really bad taste in just the general population of Battlefield players for competitive play. There was already a stigma attached to it, but now there is even worse stigma that's attached
Virgin
to competitive
Gaming,
play.
1.6 million, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, if you're going to do anything that helps the competitive community at all, it's just give us the tools and get out of the way. Let us build our own community. And we don't really, it's not that we don't want your help. It's just that your help tends to backfire more than anything at this point in time. Esports has grown to I think to a point right now to where we don't necessarily need a developer or a publisher to help push the game in order to have some success. And when I say some success, I'm not talking about CSGO or League of Legends or that type of success. I'm talking about being able to have streams that are consistently pulling in anywhere from 500 to 1,000 people. I'm talking about having mainline events like finals and offline finals that are getting anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 viewers. That type of thing is what I'm talking about success for now, because if you can hold those on a regular basis, you will attract sponsors. There is enough. There are enough companies out there who have esports budgets who are looking for smaller ways to be able to spend that money. That if you provide a good product, they absolutely will fund you. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, if they would give us the tools, the Battlefield community could absolutely do something like that.
Because you said funding, do you think it would work like with CSGO, like the funding system they have for their tournaments? You know, you're
talking about
you're paying the cosmetics, and then part of the money goes into funding for big leagues and tournaments, and then they invite leagues like ESB League, for example. They can all join a system, and then they give these different tournaments to the different leagues, so it's fair.
Yeah. So the thing is that yes, it could work. I mean, it's obvious that it could work because Counter-Strike and Valorant and Call of Duty and all these other leagues have done it. They've all had the profit sharing. They've all had these cosmetic skins that go towards competitive play. You know, Dota was, I think, the first one to actually do crowdfunding for it. Yes, it can work. Will it work? I think in Battlefield, not as well as you might think, because again, you've got a really big negative stigma towards competitive. And if people see DICE and EA putting any kind of monetary support that visibly towards competitive, it will backfire on them so bad right now. It will not be good. Would I love to see them doing it? Yes. Could it happen? Yes. Could it be successful to an extent? Yes. But I don't think that it's going to be something that they're going to entertain anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a few years ago, I would have said, okay, let's do incursions and, let's do it. But we've been through so much feedback and we've said so many things to help improve incursions in the past, and we're kind of ignored, sadly, because if a lot of the feedback that we had given was listened to, a lot of things could have been avoided, and maybe incursions would be a reality right now. And that's not to say, that's not me trying to be cocky about the people that helped from the GameChanger program to work on incursions, but they brought in so many of us that knew what we were talking about and knew the game inside out and knew how to abuse certain mechanics in the game. And unfortunately, a lot of some of the people that were working on incursions, and I'm not going to, throw anyone under the bus, just ignored us and thought they knew better. And then it took months for stuff that we said on day one that should have been fixed. Like I remember the little pistol on the tank class. What was
Yeah.
it? The 1,000 rate of fire. I don't remember what it was called. We said that day one, remove that. Took them 8 months to say, okay, let's remove it. You know what I mean? Like it's just so much time wasted on stuff that we said from day one. Let's do this, this, and this. Like I remember, like this, and this still triggers me to this day. Like when they introduced 5-man queue into ranked for incursions, and I was like, if you do this, incursion's gonna die, and no one's gonna play this shit anymore. What happened 2 weeks later? Everyone was stacking. Incursions died. The little activity
Yeah.
incursions
Or
still had
leaving.
left,
Or player will
everyone
just
died
leaving.
because obviously you have people like I don't know at the time like EXE or actually EXE wasn't stacking at the time, but a lot of competitive teams, even average competitive teams, were stacking and destroying anyone. But it was normal. Like go find the scrim instead of trying to stack pubs and climb the rankings. But when you allow these people to do this, you can't complain because you've enabled it. Before the queue was like 2-man queue, wasn't it? Two, and then they did 3
Yeah.
for a period. The moment you go above 2-man queue, you sign the fade off of stuff like that. So at this point, just give us the tools on day one and let us do it. Because if you don't give us the tools on day one, anything that we're planning like now, like we're already planning stuff for the next Battlefield, but the moment you don't give me tools on day one, I have to scrap all those plans. So that's months and months and months of work, months and months and months of working out deals and contracts and everything.
Let's
Just
say,
throw it up in the air.
if they can't bring it on day one, let's say they can't bring private service on day one, would help you a deadline? Because I feel like the main issue
Give us a month.
the main issue with Battlefield is that they don't give you dates. Like many times they just let you wait, or they give you like hope, and then
But
they
the thing is, it's
so
not even just about the date. It's because like they could tell you like, okay, I don't know, next Battlefield releases I don't know in November somewhere, and then you can have it in March. That's not good enough because these brands need to, and we need to ride the wave of the game being popular to help us kick things off. If the game is, for example, bad, like Battlefield 5, and we can't ride the wave at the beginning, and then we just have to deal with the repercussions of Battlefield 5 being bad, and we're trying to market the game like that, and we don't get servers for Battlefield, was that like 9 months later? It doesn't help us. Like, for example, Hardline, oh my gosh. A big shout out to Thaddeus Sasser. Dirty Death Dog. Like, that man was one of the few people that I've met working at EA that actually cared about the competitive community. One of the few. Because that man did everything in his power, to get servers within the first two months. He did everything he could, and he released the servers. And 2 months later, we had 3,000 euros in tournaments in Hardline, and Brett remembers this stuff. We did so much in the first 6 months of Hardline compared to anything else we could have done just because we had servers, and we were just able to do stuff. Right now, when I think about all the stuff that's been canceled for Battlefield 4, for Battlefield 1, for Battlefield 5, it honestly hurts me so deep because it's so much work that just literally trash canned and like,
Oh yeah.
Were you
Yeah,
thinking? Were you sorry, Brad? Were you
All right.
were you thinking, Deuce, about branching out to other games with the league?
I mean, ESB as a company,
I mean, it's esports Battlefield. It's maybe a little bit different in point of branding, but
right. Well, right now, yeah, I guess you could say it that way. And right now, the actual company name is the ESB company, so it doesn't have Battlefield attached to it as a company per se, because that would be a lot of legal issues. Obviously, it started off as Esport Battlefield, but right now it's just the ESB company. So objectively, you could do anything. The difference is that we do this as for fun, as a passion, as a side project. Obviously, it'd be great to go full time, but all of our staff has full-time jobs. We do other stuff. So it would be hard to do what we do already because it takes so much work and so much time to do this. Like we spend like 4 hours a day on average working on stuff. So this is instead of like, I don't know, watching a movie, we work for the community, right? So I know people don't realize how much work goes into stuff like this. But even if people look back at season 4 and even the studio stuff, like, oh, that stuff took so much time and effort, like months and months of working out on stuff and getting deals done and everything. That if we did other games, we'd have to do this full time. So obviously we're not against it, but it's such a life commitment and investment in an investment thing. So it's possible, but it's one of those things where you just have to, do you invest and actually like put a ton of money in like the company, but then you have to go to other games because you can't be in Battlefield and making money. Just, we're talking about two different things. You can't, if you join Battlefield esports to make money, you stop. You just missed the mark. You can do it for the community. You can be passionate about it. Like we've been doing this for 8 years now, I think. We've hosted over 600 events, actually close to 700 now. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of matches. We've never stopped. We've always kept going, but you can't do it for the money. The moment I think the fact that ESB can break even with its costs and everything else, to me, that's already a big success as a company, that we're breaking even and we're not like putting our own personal money into it, because that would break my heart if I also not only put my time, but my own money that I earned doing other stuff.
Look, time is money.
Right. So I can only give one, which is time. If I have to put money as well, then it becomes kind of an issue. Hopefully, with the next Battlefield is actually good and we can do bigger things. That means maybe turning a little bit of a profit so we can pay the casters, we can do a lot of other stuff. Because the goal here is that everyone benefits, right? That's always how I see things. But
I think right now
it doesn't depend on us.
If you're going to get into Battlefield esports, especially as a caster or even as an organizer, then unless you just hardcore Battlefield, like that's the only thing that I care about. But if you're wanting to get into esports in general, Battlefield is not a bad scene to cut your teeth on, just to kind of give things a try. Because like I said before, with it being very small, you have a lot of opportunities to try new things out. There's a lot of people that are kind of buying for that or wanting certain things. But if you're wanting to make money, kind of like what Code was talking about, then you're going to have to move into something else. You're going to have to move into Rainbow Six or a Call of Duty, or you're going to have to hit some of these games that are coming out that will have these, lightning quick esports scenes, like this new dodgeball game, Knockout City, that's come out. You're going to have to hit that really quick for the first year or so, and it'll probably die down after that. But, those are the type of things that you're going to have to get into if you want to make any kind of actual money in the esports scene. But, with what Code is talking about as well, with like if Battlefield, if the game is good and if we have the tools, then it could absolutely develop into something that can generate a profit in time.
Brett, quick question. Do you have an AC on in the background?
I do. Is it loud?
No, but I think the microphone is like, I don't know, it's picking up the sound and then not again. It makes it difficult to hear. Can you shut it down?
Yeah, one second.
Let me try.
Yeah, Brett, trying to feel cold. Suffer.
Yeah, you have a black t-shirt
Suffer,
on.
Brett.
You can sweat. It's okay.
Suffer and
Don't
sweat,
worry.
Brett.
But yeah, I mean, and
Much
another thing
better.
too, I was going to add about the about having events and time and putting into it, and then having all of those hours kind of just wasted. So in the beginning of Battlefield 1, before Battlefield 1 launched, I was working with a group that was actually going to be partnered up with Razer. And they had, at the time, Razer had a platform where they were hosting events and tournaments and for multiple games. And what we were going to be is focused on Battlefield. And we actually had a budget of $11,000 to $12,000 a month that we were going to be getting to put towards competitive Battlefield events. We were going to have 5v5 weekly cups. We were going to have then a playoff system that similar to what ESL 1 was doing at the time. And then we were going to actually have a 10v10 Battlefield season. It was going to be a 3-month long season with a $15,000 prize pool at the end of it. So we had planned out of having some big money going into Battlefield 1. And we were planning this from, I think it was end of June, beginning of July, all the way up through to the game launch. And then obviously, we didn't get servers. So we were trying to tell Razer, hey, we need to extend this out to, what was it, December they were promising, and then it didn't happen. And then we were like, okay, January, and it didn't happen. And then at the end of January, Razer just said, all right, well, we have to cut it. We're going to be focusing on other stuff. And so we lost all of that potential. And that would have been a massive game changer. I mean, even with Battlefield 1 not being the best competitive game up until Incursions came out, because I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some hardcore fans out there, but Code, I think you can agree that until Incursions came out, it was rough.
If I ever have to play Battlefield 1 again, like honestly, I'd rather quit gaming. Honestly, like don't ever. No, I will stop. If you ever have me compete on Battlefield 1 again, I will literally stop. Like I've endured too much suffering playing that game competitively and organizing stuff for that game with that stupid ass server creator, whatever.
Yeah.
Beta,
hey, let's dig into that. I wanna see, but from your perspective, like you as a shoutcaster, what do you want to see in their spectator mode? What is the must-have, and what could they improve from previous versions? And what would you like to see as a competitive player in the next Battlefield? Deuce, from your side, from the ESB League.
Okay, what I would like to see. First of all, obviously, I want servers at day one. That's the biggest thing. I would like to see an objective-based game mode. So whether that's a squad rush, whether that's a squad obliteration, whether that's like a squad front lines even. I think, and I know a lot of people are going to get triggered at this shit, but I don't care. We need to move away from domination and squad conquest. Like,
yes,
it is the, okay, guys, it is the fun thing to play. I know I've played thousands of domination games in Battlefield 4. Like, I used to compete on that. I used to have like 3 scrims a day, even on Battlefield 4. But we need to move away from it. I know it's fun to play.
Why?
But from a viewer perspective, it is
boring.
the most boring and
funny.
Ununderstandable shit that you will. If you just tune in and you're like, oh, what are these guys doing? Oh, they're just running around in circles on flags and missing rotations. Like, it's just boring. It's plain old boring.
The only thing that is exciting about domination or conquest is the last 60 seconds. And that's only if it's a close game. And this is classic, because if you take a look at any esport that's out there, and my favorite response to that is, well, we don't have to be like every esports out there. Yeah, but guess what? Every successful esports out there has something in common. Okay, you might want to take a look at that as to why we're not successful. But you look at Call of Duty domination last year, okay, in Modern Warfare. It was the most hated game type for the entire season. Like, people hated it. People would basically leave their computer, go watch something else while the domination match was going on, and then come back to it. I, as a viewer, would watch it on YouTube, I would just skip it. I would just skip it and go, oh, this team won it. You have to have a centralized objective in order for it to be fun and interesting. And it can't be in the same places all the time, because then it's the same plays every single time.
Okay, what do you want to see?
About it so much.
What do you want to see, guys? What do you want to see? What modes would you want to see? What do you think is most entertaining? Because I actually had that question in mind, and I was thinking, like, what about competitive battle royale? I mean, it's something
Lord
we
have
have a hard
mercy.
feeling about but
Save us.
Okay, so Battle Royale, in my opinion, is just a horrible esports mode to begin with. There's so much random crap that happens at the beginning of it. So, like, right now, I would say Apex is probably the best Battle Royale competitive that we have right now.
100%.
But you have, like, Call of Duty. That is an utter joke. Kill races with public players, like, seriously? That is the dumbest thing that I have ever heard. Like, that is not competitive play. That's pub stomping. That's all that is.
But you can also make private servers and have tournaments there. That's not like everything is pub match.
But you don't see that in the wider competitive scene. That's not what they do for Call of Duty. In Apex, they do. In Apex, they have just competitive teams that go in there and play. But then you have the issue of, where are we dropping? Okay, so when you go to a certain place, do you have the same equipment that everybody else? Do you have the same opportunity to get the same equipment as everybody else? And that's not the case. Like, it doesn't, in my opinion, it's not a good competitive game. What I would like to see for Battlefield competitive is something similar to a squad rush or a squad obliteration. And yeah, people are going to go, oh my God, Brett, that's not Battlefield because you're not talking about 16 players on a team. Well, guess what? 16 players on a team is not going to be accepted as a competitive play. It just won't. It is too difficult on so many different levels. You know, Code will speak to logistically, having just 4 or 5 people go to a LAN per team is tough enough. You talk about adding more to that, and it gets even worse. You're talking about a budget that has to be massive in order to support that. You're talking about teams that are going to have to be able to pay their players. If this goes to a next level, I'm talking about if this ever was to reach like a Rainbow Six Siege level, you're talking about organizations having to pay their players. You're talking about organizations that are going to have to start making these large contracts that are going to be massive in money, and doing it for 16 players. It's not possible. So in my opinion, we need to be looking at anywhere from a 5 to 10 player mode. And I know 10 player is definitely big, but I think 10 players can be done online. As far as a LAN setting, not so much. But if you're looking at LANs, it needs to be about a 5 to 6 player mode. It needs to be objectively central. So like you need to have a bomb or a capture zone or something that, and when I say capture zone, it needs to be something that either progresses through the map or changes, like a hard point, or similar to a, what was that mode where you capture the point? It was in, I think it was in Kill Zone. You know what I'm talking about, Code?
Yeah.
Where you captured the zone and it opened it up to a different area?
Yes. Yeah, I don't remember what it was called, but I know what you're talking about.
But anyways, something like that where it progresses the game, and there's a defined defend attack type scenario where there is an actual like way for teams to set up and have those setups broken to be able to come on in. Like that is what needs to happen. You need to have those, and in my opinion, the objective based stuff has to be a bomb. Like that's what I find more enjoyable when it is a bomb. Like the rush that ESB just had for their LAN. Go back and watch the I think it's the game for third place.
Yeah, the last video we posted. Yeah,
if
that
you
game
watched that game. It wasn't the finals. It was the one before that. That had me. I was sitting there watching, just getting clips, and Code will tell you, I'm sitting there screaming on the edge of my chair, like, go,
I'm
go!
like in the studio. I'm like in the studio, and Brett and Kat are both taking clips. They're like clip. I'm like, bro, I cannot spam social media this much. Like I have to like even space it out, because otherwise, like Twitter is going to just literally block me for like spam or something. Like I need to tone it down. Like this is not going to work.
Which match was that? What was that?
That was it wasn't Chaos. It was Redux and
Raid.
It's
the last video. It's the last video on our channel.
Yeah, it was. Okay. Oh man, it's such a good match. But if we had a system like that, like if you remember Squad Rush in Battlefield 3, Squad Obliteration in Battlefield 4, like those were both really, really good modes, and they allowed for that really intense moment to where diffuse, plant, am I going to get there in enough time? It's easy to understand for the viewer. They can go, okay, he needs to blow up that objective. That's why they're fighting over it. And they can look up at the scoreboard and he can say, all right, they have 1, they have 2, these guys are in the lead. Whereas when you look at a ticket system right now for conquest or domination, depending on what game you play, well, the tickets may go up, they may go down. You know, is it whoever has more tickets or whoever has less tickets is what you're looking for. And then you're sitting there going like, okay, well, do kills make a ticket go down, or is it based solely on time that you have flags? Do I have a bleed when I have 2 or more flags, or is it a bleed no matter how many flags I have, which is Battlefield 1?
Change and rotate based on what you're looking and what you're guarding, and you can fix the spawns. For the average viewer, like people need to realize like, okay, what makes traditional sports good? There's a central objective, the ball. The ball is the main objective. You have to do something with the ball. And then you have to go to one end or the other end. Or, attack and defend. If you dumb it down, this is what makes traditional sports, the ones that work and the most popular ones, this is what makes them good. Their central objective, the average viewer who has no idea what the fuck he's looking, can turn on the TV. If you take football, or as people like to call it, soccer, you can take this, you can watch TV. You're like, okay, there's a ball. Oh, he has to score over there. Oh, he has to score over there. He doesn't have to know the offside rules and how the fouling and all this other stuff to enjoy the basic concept of it. 2 teams scoring a ball, one side and the other. That's you dumb it down that much, and that's what you need when people need to watch these esports. Same thing. If you look at the ESB League Season 4 playoffs, that match that Brett was talking about, so between it was 3 map, best of 3. After the second map, we had a technical problem, okay, with one of the players from Redux. It was, I think, frantic, couldn't get in the server, he had a bunch of issues. And we had to delay the start of the map 3 by like 20 something minutes. Okay. We had no drop in viewership. We're talking like, I think we were having like 280 viewers, something like that. No one dropped. Like there was no drop. Normally when some issues like this happen, like half the viewers just leave, right? But everyone was so into what was being viewed and what the game mode was offering that they stayed, and they stayed through that and just kept talking and kept being engaged, because it was good. There was a central objective and it was easy to understand, and there were so many awesome plays. If you go watch those videos, they're so exciting. They're so exciting to watch. If you go watch the finals of, if you go to our YouTube, there's a history of just Battlefield content. If you go watch domination finals, completely different vibe, completely different vibe. So, and I see people in chat are like, let's put tanks or vehicles in comp. Okay. It's hard to do. The balancing behind that is so hard. It's so hard that while I understand why people want it, and I think like stuff like 8v8 Conquest is great fun, and I've played a ton of it. I've even played 12s, I've played 16s. Those are great online modes that I understand there's people that want them. But if you want Battlefield to be competitive at an esport level, so we're talking about LANs, we're talking about orgs hiring people, people making this their full-time job, then it has to be 4v4, 5v5. And unfortunately, it's got to be infantry only. Because we've tried with incursions to balance it. Like me and Brett, we were there. We were like embracing the incursions tank. We were like, okay, we understand. Let's give it a try. We've tried so many things with the balancing. It just does not work.
No, it didn't
And
help. It didn't
people
work.
tried to make it work. The balancing aspect is just not there.
People in chat say here, bring Hardpoint from Code and Search and Destroy. Ballista said Search and Destroy.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. One of the things that we tried to do, on that note, in Battlefield 4 was to have a variant mode series. So we wanted to have multiple modes in one series, in a best of series.
Yeah, we did that with Dom Defuse Dom, and we did Dom Defuse Obliteration, Squad Obliteration. Yep. Yeah, that was so much fun.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
With Call of Duty, if we had a hardpoint mode, because see, in a hardpoint, the objective isn't in the same place every single time. It moves around. So you have that opportunity of rotating when you need to, like at the right time. Can you hold that rotation? Where spawns are going to be at? See, the other thing that Battlefield kind of did wrong in Battlefield 4 for domination, but they sort of fixed it in Battlefield 1 and 5. Actually, I don't know if they did that in 5, but in Battlefield 1, they allowed the spawns to actually move around the map. So you didn't have a set spawn. In Battlefield 4, you spawned on one side of the map, and that's the only place that you spawned. Whereas in Call of Duty, your spawns change. So that allows you to have more strategy as to where you set up, trying to influence the spawns. That also helps out where you're going to defend, when you rotate, how you're going to be rotating, all that kind of stuff. And because it moves around the map every 60 seconds or so, it varies the gameplay up enough to where it's interesting throughout the entire series, as opposed to 3 standard locations that are always going to be there, that are static and that have the exact same way that you break it every single time, no matter what. Gets boring. So yeah, hardpoint would be great. A search and destroy would be great. Diffuse is what we had in Battlefield 4, and it was great fun. There were some obvious problems with diffuse, just like with squad obliteration, that could have been tweaked to make the mode 10 times better. In fact, it's really funny because I spoke to the guy who actually pushed diffuse to get into Battlefield 4. We were at the US versus Europe Battlefield 4 match in London. And I was sitting there talking to Daniel Matros and Dennis Brenwall, I think it was. He was a level designer. And we were like, they were all excited to talk to us. It was me, Ravik, Drunksy, who is now a DICE developer. And I think it was Daskro that was there. And they were like, all right, guys. So what do you think about Diffuse? Do you like it? And we were like, it's broken. What? It's like, it doesn't work. There were moments when the bomb wouldn't spawn, or there were times when it would just completely, like the round would never end. It would just stay at a screen, at the end screen.
No, the best part about, go ahead. Sorry.
So you had like all these problems. Now, some of those did get worked out, but you still had issues like they couldn't reset destruction. So the destruction, which was a fantastic idea, needed to be reset every single round. Well, they couldn't do it because they said it wasn't the ability wasn't there in the engine in order to make it happen without restarting the entire game. There were other things like being able to drop the bomb or being able to, implement some kind of an economy system, which was talked about at one point, which I think would have been kind of cool, the road that we were going down. But anyways, so there were a lot of really cool things that just never happened for Diffuse that would have made it much better, but it was still a decent mode.
It was a decent mode, yeah.
Yeah, in Squad Obliteration, you want to talk about the community? The community, I loved them back then. They had their problems, but Squad Obliteration was a labor of love. But for 3 people, myself, Pio, and Crazy Baz, we worked with
old school.
We worked with David Serlin and Steve Lynn, White Walrus, on Twitter. We worked with those guys so much, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. I can't even tell you how much time I spent working with those guys for Squad Obliteration to get it ironed out to where it was at. And we made a whole new game mode for the community with Squad Obliteration. And if we would have had more time and more money, that mode would have been amazing. There were certain aspects of it. I know Slendy was talking about how, some of the scoring system. Yeah, there was stuff that we wanted to change in the scoring system to make it a lot more viable for viewers and for the players themselves. We just didn't have time to do it. But that game mode literally was nothing. It was nothing. And we worked on that from scratch to develop what we had. And it was all through the community going through the CTE. It was from feedback from Crazy Baz, Pio, and myself. It was working with the developers. And that group of developers was probably the best group of developers that I've ever worked with. Dice LA.
David Serlin.
He was
the OG.
We were talking about Dirty Death Dog. David Serlin, he did an amazing job for the community.
I love David. I have so much love for David still. One of the people he's one of our champions. Honestly, like I'll never forget everything he did for the competitive.
Oh, without him, you're talking about ridiculously bad suppression. You're talking about terrible spectator mode. All of the spectator changes that happened from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5 in terms of like feature sets. So I actually was flown out to Dice LA several times between Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1 to give feedback on spectator mode. Yeah. And a lot of the features that you see, like the outlines, the being able to click on people, which actually that was added in Battlefield 4, but being able to click on people when you're in free cam to go to their first person view, that was a feedback request that they implemented. Having the map overlay, what's the screen I'm talking about? The tabletop map, the changes to that from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1. We did feedback on that to implement way that was actually set up, changing around some of the way that you control the camera, some of the features that you had with the camera. So being able to have, tilt pans, being able to snap the camera back in certain situations, being able to place drop cams in certain areas. So going in from first person to a drop cam back to third person in certain areas. All of that stuff was made possible from the community feedback. And because David Serlin was the one that was heading that up. Had that been somebody else in that position, we would have probably had a copy paste of Battlefield 4 spectator mode, and that would be it.
Yeah. It's funny when you talked about the defuse. I remember that we were doing defuse Dom events. We were already doing multi-mode like as soon as we could. And then they had a bug in one of the patches that the bomb was always spotted in defuse, and that never got patched for like months. So we had to drop that and wait until you guys were done with. I remember our first version of Squad Obliteration was sneaked into the console stuff, like without telling people, and like people like me and you knew, but others didn't.
Yeah.
So unless you went looking for it, you didn't know that was there. And we had done. I don't know if you remember the Winter Championship. So we did a Squad Obliteration event. With a fairly small prize pool, but the cool thing about that event is that we had like 6 or 7 esports bars around Europe broadcast the event in their bars. People could go to the bar, get a drink, and just watch it all together. And even people that had no idea that Battlefield esports was a thing were able to watch it and do that. And that's crazy because what was that, 2014 or something? So that was that was so ahead of its
16.
time.
It was either 15 or 16.
It's 15 then, I think. It was like December 15. And that was so ahead of its time. Like esports bar now, it's even something we haven't done recently. I'd love to do something like that again in the future, but
yeah.
That's very interesting. Yeah, well, I think Diffuse was very interesting for that time. Do you believe? Let's say esports will be successful, and I mean, you got to make it kind of a little bit more mainstream so it will be successful, right? Let's say it will be. Do you think the Battlefield community and their teams we have right now are ready for that?
No.
No, I think right now, if you were to assume, let's just say that Battlefield esports is able to achieve, 10,000 viewers for a finals event. Okay, so you're having your headline league, and they're able to get 10,000 viewers for their grand finals. There is no organization right now in Battlefield esports that would be ready to be able to do that, because you're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars that are going to be going into it. You're going to be looking at probably having anywhere from 64 to close to 120 teams that are going to be trying to compete, qualify, get into it. That you're going to start talking about actually contracting some of these players and paying for them. I mean, you got to think about it. Back in ESL, okay, so we're talking about some big money that was thrown in ESL's way over in 2014 2015, where we were having anywhere from €30,000 events for the finals. $500 qualification cups that were there, $100 a week go for cups that were being thrown at it. You had Fnatic, Epsilon and whatnot, they were paying their players, but it was nowhere near what players are expecting and what are wanting now for anything. Yeah. And ESL did not gain the amount of viewership that I'm talking about. No. I think at the height of what we saw with ESL was, I think it cracked 10K at least maybe 3 times. That was it. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm talking about concurrent viewers. I'm not talking about over a period of time. I'm talking about concurrent viewers. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about having a lot of resources being thrown in. No, the community is not ready for that at all. But, which is why Code and I both agree that it needs to be, give us the tools, we'll grow it, because it needs to have a growth period. If you just come right out of the gate and say $1 million event, you're going to have a whole bunch of players that are going to play the game for a few months. And then once that $1 million event is over, or if it happens at all, then they're gone and the community collapses. It's kind of like Paladins. Paladins was going to be such a big deal, right? They had such a massive amount of money for it. And then where is it at? Or
Titanfall 2. There was a €10,000 EU event. Everyone playing that and then just dropped.
So it needs to be a slow growth. I don't think that we can see true successful esports for Battlefield until the next Battlefield game. I think.
But if we have the tools now, you give us the ability to build it. Exactly. We've proven, I'm just talking ESB wise, we've proven with the LAN in Zurich 2 years ago. We've proven with the studio stuff for the playoffs and just the season 4, the whole of season 4, that we can do professional level work. But we need the tools at the start. But just to go back to what Brett said about, to your question, are the teams and players ready? I think it's even like a step backwards. It's not even about the money or thing. I think it's like a mentality question right now. Like if Battlefield esports actually picks up, I can guarantee you that the majority of the teams that are active right now and competing right now do not have what it takes to compete at a high level.
No, they don't.
And that's a problem.
They would get crushed.
Like I can tell you as an organizer and someone that's done so many events, like people don't realize what it takes to play at a high level. And I'll tell you even this, like some of these people are like, we're so pro, blah, blah, blah. They can't even read basic rule sets. Like everyone is like, we want LANs. People don't show up for online stuff. How do you want to compete in LAN? Like I think what people are gonna realize, and a lot of the players maybe gonna be salty at me for like exposing them like this. But if Battlefield Esports actually kicks off, if you're just talking about like, let's just talk PlayStation Europe right now. There's not even a handful of teams that are surviving this. If actual players that know what it takes and start grinding and creating teams and competing and stuff picks up, even if like, I don't know, let's just throw something in the air. Imagine there's a big tournament as soon as the game launches, right? I'm just hypotheticals right now. And so many new players come and so many new players ready to compete. And some players will come from different games and know what the grind is like. Even just look at the amateur COD scene. You know, many of those like amateur COD players are so fucking talented, and they'll come here, or even Rainbow Six players are gonna come here and compete and show these people what the fuck it takes to compete. And a lot of these people are gonna be in for such a rude awakening that I'm sorry, but this is esports. Like, if you follow esports, if you played at a decently high level in any other game, you know that it takes 5 to 6 hours of practice every day. And that's just like even just pubs, and you get scrims, and you're doing whatever, and you're reading rules, you're playing all the time, you're not dodging shit. Like, I'm sorry guys, if people that are watching this feel offended, chances are I'm talking about you, you know.
Well, and you know, another thing, Code, is that, and I think people they either don't know or they've forgotten because they're so new to the community, but and you kind of made fun of this before, but there was a $1.6 million Virgin Mobile event that was supposed to happen for Battlefield 3. It was a real thing. It's not a troll. It was a real thing. And you had players, obviously it got canceled, but you had players like Crim6 that came over and was playing. You're
talking about the Richard Branson story?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
So you had people, high level people in the Call of Duty scene that are pros right now that actually migrated from Call of Duty to Battlefield in order to play in this event. So if you have a big prize pool, if you actually have, you know, 500,000 or $1 million prize pool for a launch event, and you're like, oh, I'm going to grow the scene off of this, like what Code just said, you're going to get a lot of people from other esports who are good, like really good, that are going to migrate over and dominate it. And the people who think that they are the Battlefield community, well, they're not going to get nothing.
But I'm not only talking about are they ready, I'm about the single players. I feel like also the platoons, like, I mean, let's see how that works, right? Somebody is making a platoon on Battlefield, and they're maybe not even making a platoon because they want to play esports, they just make a platoon. And then they see like all these leagues are coming out. I mean, ESB is not the only one. There are many, many small leagues also in the community, and they're hosting these events. And then they're starting scrimming, and then they are going like, okay, we are doing esports. And there are so many pieces missing, you know, along the process. Like, you know, it's so difficult, like you said, finding the right players and the right people with the right mindset, that they take it seriously and act as it is a sport, you know. And for every sport you do, you need training, you know, you need rules, and you need to develop on some point. And I'm feeling like in point of their platoons itself, I'm not sure if they are ready as well for that. And what I would like to see is if there would be, if Battlefield is going into esports, maybe there's more work also on the community side, you know. And I really would like to see that. Do you see
on all sides?
Is there CTE right now? Is there CTE again for Battlefield? No, right?
No.
Nothing, right?
That wasn't a thing anymore.
So
yeah, CTE is not going to be coming back, I don't think.
That was David Sirlin. That was
a David Sirlin thing.
But don't you think it would be great, especially for Battlefield 6, when they bring out like a competitive, if esports is coming into Battlefield, if they work together with the current competitive scene to make it better?
Well, okay, say that again.
I think we should have CTE again, but especially for the competitive side, maybe even.
No, I don't think the CTE really benefits the competitive side, because so the CTE, the way it's meant to be used,
I know,
like it was used in Battlefield 4. Battlefield 1 trashed it. but it's meant to be there so that they can work on legitimate problems with the game. Competitive play, that right there, I mean, if you're looking at it from a developer standpoint, they need to have that game mode made before the game launches. And you know, they don't need to be trying to make adjustments and whatnot or build it in through CTE like we had to do with squad obliteration. That's the absolute wrong way to do it. I mean, I was glad that we were able to do it, but that was the wrong way, in my
It's
opinion.
like a band-aid. We don't want to get hurt to begin with.
Exactly.
We don't want to play the band-aid. CT was a band-aid for the shit show that Battlefield 4 was at launch. It was a way to get the community involved to fix it. But we don't need that, because if that's there, that means Battlefield 6 or whatever it's called is failed yet again.
Yeah, so I mean, the competitive community doesn't need a CTE. What they need is the tools to be able, and we can govern ourselves. We can sit there and say, we ban out this class, or we're banning out this gun. We do that already. We did that in the event just this past couple of weeks. You know, we said, hey, you know, if you guys watch it, you'll notice that there is one person per class. Well, that wasn't because the developers put it in the game mode. That was because the community said, this is how we're going to police ourselves, and this is the rule that we're going to set. So if you give us the server, if you give us some minimal tools with the server, we can build our own competitive scene out of it, and we can build our own rule sets out of it. Now, can it be a $100,000 league like that? Probably not. At some point, yes, the developers will have to put in a legitimate rule set so that you don't have to be coming up with these arbitrary, rules and regulations to try and make sure that, because, a normal person comes in isn't going to understand that right away. But for now, for the next, in my opinion, 1, 2 to 3 years, all we need is just the server, some basic tools and passwords on them and then just DICE, EA, get out of our way and let us do our thing.
Deuce, because you said it before, Gentleman Moose actually sent us a question before, and he asked if you would be interested in becoming a professional Battlefield esports player. Is there, let me find the question again so I don't say it. Who are the players most likely to be signed into an organization? He wants to know. You can see it here, it's on the Discord. Known players from other games or other players who are playing competitive now. So he would like to know, I think, how to become a competitive player. He's already playing. The
questions. I don't read.
He wants to know how to, let's say he wants to play for Fnatic, or an organization like that. So he wants to know how to get into.
Right now, obviously, there's no such thing, right? But I think
I know
what you need is dedication. Like, I've played, for example, I'll give an example. I've played sports at a high level, right, up until college, and you just need to practice and you need to play. You need to always push yourself. Whether there's whatever events coming up that you're like, I can sign up for when the next Battlefield drops, that properly structured. Go sign up, play scrims, be constructive to yourself, notice your own flaws. Don't talk, communicate. Put it this way. This is something that Brett will confirm. There will always be someone that aims better than you, but there's not going to be that many people that communicate better than you, that'll call stuff out properly. There's so many players that maybe don't have the best aim, but are the most successful, because they just have a different approach to the game. So don't only focus on it. Obviously, you need to know how to aim. It's like saying a basketball player needs to know how to shoot, or a soccer player needs to know how to score. There's such a big mental aspect to sports and competing that if you don't kind of work on that and work on communicating with your teammates, then you're not going to be able to achieve that. But one of the most important things is put the time in. Any top esport pro is going to tell you that if you're not putting those 5-6 hours in at least every day of practice, you're not going to succeed. It's just there's too many people grinding and putting that kind of time in, that if you're not putting the same time, there's always going to be a younger kid that just came out and he's, spending all his extra time doing that. So if you want to compete, especially as you get older, it's just dedication. It's hard to put it into an ABC list, but
I've got my opinion on that has changed drastically here in the last couple of years. So I think for a scene that is like Battlefield, let's look at Battlefield 4 for an example. So let's go back and let's just say that we had the same scene in Battlefield 4. It's going to be coming up right now today, coming up the same money, the same, the game mode, the interest, people who are a lot more positive about it, all that kind of stuff. Um, One of the things that I think if you're trying to get into a competitive team at that stage is one, you're obviously going to have to be good at the game. That's just a must.
Yeah.
But I think also you need to probably have a decent following in social media presence. If you can get somewhat big on Twitch, not okay, that's a bad choice of words. If you can have a consistent, 100 to 2 to 3 to 400 viewers on Twitch, playing at a competitive level, and then being able to have that Twitter social media presence as well, that is your biggest in to companies. Because I think right now for organizations that are looking at smaller esports, you're obviously not going to be making your money back on the prize pools, right? I mean, because they're going to be non-existent. You're talking about 2 and 3 and 4 and 5K prize pools, so it's not going to be huge. But what you can do is advertise your brand. So if you have a organization who goes out there and sponsors a couple of decent streamers who are good at the game, and I think Apex is a really good example of this, they can move their brand. They can push their brand out there by just sponsoring these people who are always going to have a social media presence. And that's what you want. You want to get your eyes out there, because if you can gain more eyes, you can gain more fans, you can gain more sales on merchandise or whatever it is that you have. And that's going to help the organization in the long run. So I think now it doesn't help just to be really, really good at the game. Obviously, if you're the number 1 or number 2 player in the game, you're going to get picked up. But if we're talking about like you're a top, let's say, 120 player, there's going to be a lot of people vying for those positions. And if you can bring something to the table, like, hey, I've got a, 30,000, follower count on Twitch. I average 1 to 200 viewers every time I go live. I've got a decent Twitter following as well. Boom, that's going to help you out tremendously.
Yeah, but and I agree to get picked up by a top org, but I've seen like even Apex, like recently, like I've been helping out with some of the GLL stuff for Apex. Like there's a lot of players that are playing at an incredible level and they got to the final, stuff like that, and they're not necessarily in orgs. I think it's just from the point of getting there. Then once you get there, like you can get the following fairly, let's say, easily, because people start getting to know you. They see you in those like finals and they see you in those top playoff spots regularly, and that helps you build your following as well.
I see a problem there because I know so many kids who are like a beast on regular pub matches, and then of course they come to the point where they say they start streaming, and they think it's enough to be a great player.
Yeah,
You
but
wanna?
pubs and comp is very different. Like there's,
Yeah.
Okay,
and I
listen.
think
I'm talking.
Cat is in here. Cat is in the chat. Cat is in the chat. Cat can tell you about his personal experience. He used to think he was a hot shit
Wait.
YouTuber, pub star.
Let's split it. Let's split it up. Let's split it up. That's very important. Let's split it up here. First off, we have the thing. You meet a lot of guys when you're playing competitive, like exactly this. You're good in a pub match, and you want to become a competitive player, and then you get your ass kicked. And I would say 70% of these players don't play comp anymore after they get their ass kicked.
Okay, but the problem here is Battlefield, because any other decent FPS has a ranked mode where people can actually climb up, and they can get from bronze, and they like Apex do it from bronze. You go to to Predator, and you can kind of tell what level you're at. For Battlefield, it's kind of a different situation because it's pubs to comp, and it's such a big jump.
Of course.
There's no middle ground, but for a lot of other games, you have that middle ground where you can slowly learn the game, and so you can think you're hot shit in pubs and unranked, but once you go to ranked, you're like, oh shit, people actually maybe know what they're doing a little bit more. Then it's kind of a different thing. I think Battlefield, you see that as a bigger difference because there is no rank, stuff like that.
And also too, the problem with Battlefield is that the community is so small. So in other communities, like in Apex, Call of Duty, whatever esport right now, Rainbow Six, Valorant, you have a really big novice and amateur player base that you can cut your teeth on. But when it comes to Battlefield, you have, and this was very prevalent in the event that we just had for ESB, you've got a lot of mid to lower tier teams that are roughly the same level that have really good matches. And then you have one or two teams that absolutely destroy everything and everyone. And that disparity right there will ultimately hurt your community. If you have tournaments that are going on and everybody knows that this is the only team that's going to win it because they are so much better, eventually they're just not going to play anymore. We saw that in CEVO back in the day for the North American side of things in Battlefield 4. There were one or two teams that were always winning the cups. And while we still were able to fill out, 16 to 24 teams, when we first started CEVO, we had, up to 40 teams that were playing. 40 and 50 teams. And very quickly, those lower ranked teams figured out, I'm never going to get up to that higher end. And yes, their attitude was wrong. Their attitude should have been, what do I need to get to that end? What do I need to get better? But that's not the case. So in order to make up for those players that do end up quitting, you have to have a much, much bigger player base in order to fill that void.
Oh, sorry, I was just reading the message. No, I totally get that.
Or me and Safe are flirting with each other. No, I'm joking. No, he's a great friend, and so.
Yeah, I see
Yeah,
that.
Safe. Take it easy, man. It's good seeing you in chat.
Thank you, man, for stopping by. Also, thank you for all the follows here in chat, and thank you for being here and so active. I'm trying to keep up with you guys. It's not that easy.
Yeah, I've been trying to read a little bit as well. It's not easy. And yeah, Safe. I'm an eternal optimist. So
you know what?
To put me
Can
down.
we, just because I'm afraid we run out of time and I don't want to miss that, maybe we can run through the comments I saved from Twitter, from the community, and from Discord quick, and then just see where it goes. Bloody said on Twitter when I posted that the gameplay needs to reward players for playing smart and higher skill ceiling and learning curve, easy, accessible, and fun to play, but hard to master and being top 0.1%. Agree or disagree?
No, I agree. Yeah, that's true of every esport. We've been saying that for years. You need
to have,
I
think anything, Go ahead.
Yeah, you need to have a game mode that is going to be fun and accessible, but at the same time, it needs to be in such a way to where if you really want to grind that mode, if you really want to stick at it for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a night, 5, 6, and 7 nights a week, in order to be the best of the best, that is there for you to do. And that's just, we don't have that right now for Battlefield.
Yeah, then of course, community service with all Battlefield 3 and 4 features, he said. I honestly, by the way, because I am allowed to take screenshots in game, I really hope we get a great spectator mode also for the virtual photography artists. To be honest, I think there's a lot of improvement still, especially on consoles.
Yeah. So about spectator mode, there was a really interesting discussion, and I'm not going to get too far into it because it's a long one. But there was an interesting discussion that I had with developers about spectator mode and why it mattered to have it, because they were actually considering not having it in as a feature in Battlefield 5 at one point. So, I was talking about you need to have a spectator mode there because it gives content creators, not just me as a competitive caster, but it gives content creators of all walks of life to be able to take your game and build a fan base out of it, whether it be machinimas or jokes or just showing off cool stuff like what Ponyline and I can't even think of his name now off the top of my head, Mr. Canadian. That's how I always remember him. But anyways, those guys built a following off of doing wacky and crazy stuff and using a spectator mode in order to capture that kind of thing. And if you don't have that moving on, then you're cutting out a huge part of your community. The other thing is that honestly, they need to pay more attention to the spectator mode and fixing the problems. Battlefield 5, while it had some really cool features, is probably the worst spectator mode in the Battlefield franchise right now. It is utter garbage.
The infinite gun glitch. That just hurts me so deeply.
And it's not just that.
Describe it.
it's not just the reload glitch with it consistently firing. You have problems with tracking. You have problems with stuttering. You have problems with the tank scope that stays up on the screen when you're not in a tank. You have all kinds of visual glitches that needed to be fixed on spectator mode that make it look like a worse product than what it can be. So yeah, in the next spectator, I hope that they, improve upon what they had. I hope that they fix the issues that we saw in Battlefield 5. But the feature set that was in Battlefield 5 was pretty darn good. They had some really cool stuff for the cinematic guys as well.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
I think the problem with those tools not getting highlighted was because servers didn't come out for so long. Something that Deuce said earlier, you've got to ride that excitement wave. Those content creators that are building these cinematics, these content creators that are building or taking these cool screenshots or whatnot, they ride the wave of excitement too. If the excitement's not there anymore, if they don't think that they're going to be able to create something that are going to gather viewers and have eyes on their content, because that's really why they're making it. They're making it because they want people to watch it. Well, if the excitement isn't there anymore, they're not going to watch it. So it needs to come out early on, and it needs to be decent.
And brands want to ride the wave. Brands want to ride that excitement wave because esports is marketing. That's like esports has evolved so much, but esports is marketing. These companies want to ride that excitement wave of the new game came out. It's so good. Everyone's playing it. Oh, you're doing an event. Let's do an event. You know what I mean? You want to ride that. But if you're just waiting a year to give me a server and I can't do anything for you, and I'm just sitting here like, okay, let me DM these people so that they can leave the server and we can play like in a pub. Like I cannot endure that anymore. Like I have given too much of my life messaging people, please leave the server so we can play for an event. That is so stupid. Like I don't want to ever have to do that anymore. Like I am hurt inside.
I was thinking about like an hour ago when you were talking about Battlefield 3 and your problems in the spectator mode, right, Brett? And I thought like, well, on Battlefield 5 we had problems as well. And then you were like sitting in a server for 1 to 2 hours sometimes to wait till the server is free, or you find a new one and that one is free, which was always
funny enough. Battlefield 3 with the free cam hack that we used, looking at Battlefield 5 right now, I probably would rather use that than what Battlefield 5 tools have given me right now, because there's so many visual glitches and problems with it that it would be better to have something that didn't have the visual glitches and problems that gave me a consistent, a level of viewing experience across the board than what Battlefield 5 gives us. So yeah, they need to fix the problems in spectator. That is number one, I think, in terms of for also with esports as well, because you got to view it, you got to be able to watch it, and it's got to look good to.
You know what I mean? You don't enjoy the gun firing like 1,000 bullets every time you change players,
dude.
No.
You know
and
how
people
long
in the chat
that's
are
been
like,
in the game?
Yeah, dude. And then people watching that don't know the game, right? And this is like the first time, all they see is this guy firing 1,000 shots, just aiming everyone. It's like, is he hacking? And I'm like, no, the game is just shit. Like, save me.
Man, my favorite one was in Battlefield 4. They had the ping difference. So I'm obviously in North America, but I cast a lot of European stuff. So the ping difference from me to them was usually about 100 to 110 on a lot of their servers. In the spectator mode for Battlefield 4, it was based on pings with how you view it. So we would have players that were shooting behind somebody but getting the kill. And I would get people all the time, they're like, oh my God, this guy sucks. Like, why is he shooting behind him? It's like, that's just what you see because I'm over in North America. And when you saw it on a North American team that was playing in a North American server, all of a sudden everything lined up. So yeah, you're absolutely right. They will pick apart every visual thing that looks wrong. And they will like, oh, well, this is what's wrong with the game, or that player sucks because of this. And it's like, no, actually, these players would kick your ass in an instant using a freaking knife and a toothpick.
Yeah.
But it's hard to communicate around that when you're doing like such a big event, and even smaller events. You're trying to communicate around the fact that the spectator mode is just bugged since launch essentially, and you can't do anything about it. And you're just like, you just either take it or you take it, and because you're trying to move forward with stuff. So like,
do we need more community tools within the menu? I mean, the menu on Battlefield 5 was very
I think the tools we got in Battlefield 5 were really good. I think there's a lot more that can be added to it. I know I've given lots of lists and feedback about what I would like.
Pages.
Yes, like this is an ongoing thing for years about stuff that I think would benefit the competitive community and things that I would like to see as an organizer, that I think would help me do cool stuff. Even something simple, like I'll give you an example.
Yeah, well, I just want to say, give me 3
in
examples, please.
We'll give you one to begin with.
Okay.
And then, because one just sprung to mind. For example, when you change the time limit for the game mode, right, and you're trying to do multi-mode events like we did in Battlefield 4, it changes for all the game modes. But I just want to change it. I don't know, for let's go Battlefield 4. I just want to change it for Dom. I want to maybe reduce time for Dom for whatever odd reason. I want to reduce the tickets just for Dom, but I can't do that because those settings are game mode wide. I want specific settings for each mode. And obviously, the problem with this stuff is that it's so niche, because I would be probably maybe one of the only people that are going to use this, and the competitive community. That's what people don't realize. Like, you have 1 million players, and 10 stupid motherfuckers are the ones that are using this. It's normal. This does not have a priority. Like, it's normal. People need to understand this. Like, me and Brett, we can fight this fight as much as we want, but we just need the tools on day one so we can show that this is not niche, in the sense that it's niche, but there's a lot of people that can be interested and can have it. Once you have the numbers, you can be like, here are the numbers. You know, the problem up to now is that everyone's like, this is niche, but it's only niche because we never get the fucking tools from launch. It's only niche because it's their fault it's niche. It's not our fault, because this was not be niche, because if I can't post these numbers, but if I show you just with season 4 how much reach ESB got with this event, you would be like, what the fuck? And it's a relatively small event for what it is.
Yeah.
So if you actually have bigger stuff, bigger prize pools, and actual working games, I know the kind of numbers we can pull. And at that moment, it's not niche anymore. So they need to give us tools, because otherwise it's not our fault.
Yeah, I could, I've got documents saved somewhere on my computer where it's literally pages of feedback that I have given on spectator mode, competitive mode, server settings, you name it. I have probably given that feedback on it. So yeah, it's Code and myself have, I mean, we could probably write a book with just the feedback notes that we have given.
I mean, even for Battlefield 5, like recently, I'm thinking about, you remember this, I reworked the whole domination maps for Battlefield 5 so that they could work for 5v5. I redesigned the objectives and some of the map parts, and I made this thing on Reddit, and before I put on Reddit, this was like sent to the right people, and I pushed it as hard as I could, and I was like, you know, people wanted Dom. I don't agree with Dom being a comp mode, but we didn't have another option, so I'm always for the community. I spent so many hours on that. No, we spent so many hours on 4v4 Rush, so we essentially created a mode out of nothing. You know, that 4v4 Rush should not even be a thing, but we managed to find a way to make it a thing. You know, so there's so much that the community can do, and not only us. There's so many talented people out there that are not here talking, that have so many ideas and have put so much work or are willing to put so much work. But we need the tools, or they need to listen. Either or, but give us the tools at this point.
At this point, yeah, give us the tools, and then we'll build it, and then they can refine it later if they want.
Yeah, and then you can be like, oh, well, maybe they're not that much of an idiot. You know, he's not that much of an idiot coding. Maybe he had a point. He showed that it works. Okay, but at least let me show you it works, because otherwise you just think I'm a random idiot that always has weird ideas, which I do. But, yeah.
Do you want a matchmaking system? Do you want a matchmaking system and ranked?
No, I want servers. Like I literally don't want anything else. I want servers with the right tools, because I've given tons of feedback, so they know what I want. They know what the competitive community needs. I just want servers. That's everything else we can do.
Yep.
You want ranked? We can do that. You want something else? We can do that.
What we had for Battlefield 4?
Yeah.
If we could have a quarter of the features that we had in Battlefield 4 in the private servers on launch day, we could build an amazing competitive scene.
What about Battlelog? Oh yeah, Bloody asked that as well. He said, like, make BF Companion a good replacement of Battlelog.
Battlelog would be fantastic to have back again, as far as and I don't know about what Deuce thinks about this, but as far as me in coordinating with teams and organizations and whatnot for events, Battlelog was amazing because I would have one-stop shop to be able to message, add friends, all that kind of stuff. I could talk to them throughout there. I knew when they were on. They could always get a hold of me. It was very, very easy to use. I was very easy to look at or to find the servers, and it was very easy to look at and make sure that they were following the rules when it came to server settings and whatnot that were in there, because obviously it was published on the page. I would love to see a Battlelog come back. I don't think it's going to. I think that we're pretty much done with that aspect of it. What you see in Battlefield 5 is going to be refined and changed a little bit for the next Battlefield.
Yeah, okay. The problem with Battlelog was the security issues with the DDoSing, because I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons why it got discontinued. You could literally find the server IP for any server through Battlelog, and anyone who was able to DDoS knew what to do, and yeah.
Which there were some very smart community members who found solutions to that. They just never implemented.
Yeah. So that was a big thing. That's why I'm like, okay, I'm happy Battlelog is gone. On the flip side, like Brett said, Battlelog was a great tool. Battlelog, even before Discord, Battlelog allowed the community to get together, talk to each other, discover other community members. Battlelog did so many good things. Like, even if you look back at Battlefield 3, Battlelog had like the matchmaker thing. You can actually make a match for some other platoon and create a match, and in game you had custom names inside. You had such cool features that most people have like, what the fuck is this?
They never use them.
And you actually had like a match history with like what team you played, and you could actually go see what the stats were, and you had such an custom experience. Like, you had a pre-round, you could warm up before the match started, and
TDM.
It's like even in BF4, BF1, BF5, we didn't have the level of tech, but obviously that was pretty much stuff that was made for the Virgin Gaming thing, and then since that dropped, they never expanded on it, I assume. But yeah, I think there's so much potential. They just need us to give us the tools, and like Slendy was saying in the chat, that you need a core experience in the game, and I agree, but we're not there. Like, we need to take it a step at a time. Like, right now, we need servers. And then once we have servers and we can prove that there's a competitive community interested, use the competitive community as a case study. Is there enough interest for competitive Battlefield in small modes or whatever? Is there? We're going to prove that there is. And then for the next Battlefield, they're going to be like, okay, let's build a competitive mode with kind of like these requirements and the needs of the community. And then you can be like, the BF after that one, you can be like, okay, here's a ranked mode. But right now, as much as I'd love a ranked mode in Battlefield, it doesn't make any sense. We don't even know what's going to be in there, right?
Do you want TTK back from any other Battlefield before Battlefield 5?
Well, I don't think that's really a
hardcore.
That's not really a good question to be able to answer, because we don't know how Battlefield 6 is. Like, so for instance, in Battlefield 1, I think in general your rate of fire for most guns was much lower than what it was for, let's say, Battlefield 4. So your time to kill is going to be varying greatly between game to game in that sense. So it felt better in Battlefield 4, but that was because the whole function of the guns were completely different than what they were in Battlefield 1. As far as like just gunplay and handling, how good it feels, I think if you want to disregard Battlefield 3, because that was running on like 10 hertz servers or 20 hertz servers, something like that. It was really low. If you want to disregard Battlefield 3, I think Battlefield Hardline had the best feeling gunplay on PC anyways of any Battlefield so far. They refined what they had in Battlefield 4, and I think that they took a little bit of what felt really good in Battlefield 3 in terms of how quickly some of the guns killed, and it had a really good mix in Hardline. Battlefield 1, I think, had a lot to do with the fact that they were trying to make it fit the old World War I style guns. Battlefield 5 was really good at the very beginning in the alpha and beta, but then they ended up changing it for whatever reason later on, and I don't really like it now. But I think we have to see what the game is first, what kind of guns they're going to be offering, what kind of setting, what kind of how is the game going to look, what mechanics are in it, before we can actually sit there and say, well, I want Battlefield 3 time to kill. Right?
I also feel like, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I feel like TTK is the wrong thing to to look at, in the sense that I've talked about this with the Simtic guys a lot. And frames to kill is much more important because that's what you see on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see like half a second, you're going to see X frames, right? So depending on what hertz the servers are, or what platform you're playing on, whether it's 60 FPS on a console, whether you're playing 144, on a PC, depending on what you're playing, it's such a complex thing that numbing it down to TTK, I think, is wrong, and I think it forwards the wrong feedback if you're trying to like talk technically about it. But that's a topic for another day because
Yeah,
it's
it's
something
something
you
you
really
have
need
to
to
see
dive into.
when the game is out, actually.
But yeah, the frame to kill wise, I think Battlefield 5 wasn't that bad. I actually enjoyed that aspect of Battlefield 5. It wasn't perfect, but I think that's one of the things like.
But see, in that instance too, because a lot of people, when what they feel changes, because some of the deaths in Battlefield 5 felt faster because you never actually regened all of your health. So you have, that's what I'm saying, like mechanics in the game make a difference as to how it feels, because
Agreed.
in previous Battlefields, you were able to regen all of your health. Battlefield 5, you weren't. Once you use that health pack, if you didn't have anybody else around you to give you health, then you were basically going to heal up to like 90% or maybe lower. So when you went out and you had that next gunfight, it felt worse. It had the opposite effect of what you would want to see in a consistent gunfight feeling. So it really depends on the features that they bring to this next Battlefield as to what is going to be best for the game.
Agreed, completely.
Have you ever thought, as I mean, being active in that scene, if Battlefield would be really serious about esports, that it is also a market for game analysts and coaches and all these people normally around and in staff?
Yeah, I think that obviously, if you have a successful esports, that's going to be the norm. You're going to be seeing analysts, and you're going to be seeing GMs, and you're going to be seeing coaches, and you're going to be seeing all these people come over with those teams, because esports is successful, like really successful esports nowadays. They are a business, and people are taking it very seriously. It's not just a bunch of kids that are really good at a game that go play for a couple $1,000s anymore. This is a multi-million to billion-dollar industry that people are now starting to recognize and really starting to fund. I mean, you have organizations right now that have their own dietitians, that have their own trainers, that have physical trainers, that have that make sure that they have their own psychologists that go in there and actually talk to the players, over so long, because to make sure that they're not wearing themselves out, that they're mentally fit and okay in order to continue the practices and the scrims and the tournaments and the travel and everything that comes along with it as being an esport. So yeah, if Battlefield was to ever get to that point, obviously all of that stuff is going to come with it.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting, right? It's like a new market is opening then, but it has to be.
But even there, we're talking about if we have servers on launch, this is like a couple of years from now, this will evolve into that.
Yeah.
Like naturally.
I don't think you're going to be seeing any success on a big scale. I think as far as we could push Battlefield 6, that I'm talking about that entire lifespan of that game until the next Battlefield comes out, I think the best that we can hope for is maybe reaching a concurrent viewer of around 8,000 to 10,000 people for a grand finals. I think that is the max that we're going to be able to top out at for this next game. Now, the next Battlefield, we can grow on that. We can build upon that. But for this one, you have to keep your expectations in check. Like,
you're gonna be realistic about this.
Yeah, you have to be realistic about what is possible. Money, everything takes money, everything takes time, everything takes man hours and effort and blood, sweat, and tears to an extent for people to be able to push this. Oh, dude, so many
tears.
So this is something that is not going to happen over a year or 2 years, maybe even 3 years. It's something that's going to take time. Now, the real shame of it all is that we had built it up to that point in Battlefield 4, through Bad Company, Battlefield 2, towards the end of Battlefield 2, in the Bad Company, Battlefield 3, and then in the BF4. You're talking about a span of 10 years that we had been building up to this point to where it was ready to go mainstream. At one point, At one point, Battlefield 4 had more viewers than Counter-Strike on Twitch. Battlefield 4 was the number 3 game trending on Twitch at its height back in 2014.
You
Just
sound
think
like
about that.
you sound like
Where the
this
fuck
lady
did we
of
go
you
wrong?
sound like this lady of American Pie, who's talking always like this one day in camp. We had 1 million viewers.
I don't know about that because we're not playing with flutes.
I'm just kidding.
But,
I mean, I'm talking about the story. No, look. I'm really hoping. I'm really hoping. I'm really, truly hoping that we will get a great Battlefield. And this is all. I see that as possibilities right now. You know, I mean, we can dream right now. It's not like everything is set in stone.
We can always dream, but
We can always dream.
But the thing is though, is that we have already been here before.
yeah, we've been here
Right where
for
we're
like
at right now
so
is
many
where we
games.
were at in Bad Company 2. So yeah. So that's the thing. Like where we're at in terms of the size of the community is where we were at in Bad Company 2. So it's not like we haven't been in this position before. We have, and we're just gonna have to redo everything over again. And we just
pretty much.
it's one of those things where you're talking to two people who have done this, who are, well, at least for me anyways, I'm not gonna speak with Code on that, a bit jaded towards it. And, you know, I'm kind of past it in a sense. Like I'm still there for Battlefield esports, but I'm not all in like I used to be back when I was in my early 20s.
You're not?
No, I'm all in. I'm all in the sense that we've invested a lot of time into building ESB the way it is now, and we have plans like you guys saw. Like we just brought Samsung and MSI to Battlefield 5. Like to me, only that is an accomplishment in itself that we managed to get them to agree to do stuff on such a shit game. Like let's be honest. Like for me, that's just a victory in its own. So I think if the next Battlefield is good, then there's only room to grow here and to do cool stuff. But obviously, like Brett said, we've been through a lot. We've seen a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we'll never be able to talk about, and that just we know, and we're like, this happened and this didn't happen, and we have maybe a little bit of bad blood because we're like, we had done so much work.
I know. I mean, you
for other
probably
stuff, and, like,
you probably
and
have
this-
thought about giving up not only once, right?
Well,
Yeah, I'm a stubborn guy. When I'm like, I want Battlefield esports to work, I will make it work. They will not defeat me. I will be the most annoying motherfucker that goes to all these events that is always like, can you do this? Can I do that? Dude, honestly, like every time we're at Gamescom, and Brett will tell you this, that every time we're at Gamescom together, I'm always there like, can I host something? Can I do something? Let me do 5v5. Let me do 4v4. Let me do this. Let me do that. I'm the most annoying person within that regard. But, at one point I may give up. But that point has not come yet. So they're going to have to deal with my annoying ass, at least for a few more years, because, we have objectives, and I'm not letting them shut us up. So we'll see what happens.
So I hit my limit in late 2018, early 2019. And that's when I took a break. I took a break from all casting. And getting back into it right now, I have pretty much, I've told Code this. I was like, look, I'll help out with certain aspects of it, but I'm done casting. I'm finished with casting for Battlefield. So, but I've started casting other games. I'm casting Call of Duty right now. I'm looking into casting some Valorant stuff for the amateur side of things. And so I have kind of already moved on in a sense, but I don't think I'll ever, it's not like I'm ever going to not allow the possibility for me to be able to come back and work in Battlefield again, like in the franchise again, because I still love it. I still play Battlefield 4. I get on every single freaking weekend and play Battlefield 4 with a group of friends. So, I mean, I still love Battlefield. It's just that I'm not going to be putting in the type of effort or the time that I used to until I see some real possibilities there for me, because there's other things that I can do with my energy and my time that I can find more success with as a caster. I'm not speaking as an organizer, but as a caster, I can find more success somewhere else than I will with Battlefield.
I mean, even as an organizer, like, let's be honest, if you put the amount of work we've been putting into Battlefield into any other game, like you're being profitable right away. Like the amount of, the level of professionality that our events have, and everything else that goes with it, If you do this, even if we did Rainbow Six at a time, I'll never forget this. Brett remembers Gonzo. Like Gonzo was one of our community managers at the time.
Yeah.
After BF4, he saw where this was going. He was like, "I'm sorry, I'm going to Rainbow Six," and he made money with Rainbow Six doing events in Germany. And he was right. He moved on. I'm happy Milos moved on. I'm literally like I love Milos as a guy, and I'm happy he moved on. Some of us are stubborn, like I said, and we're gonna keep fighting this fight. Like Brett subcasting. I personally recently stopped playing Battlefield competitively. Like I used to like organize and compete every day, but right now, at least in the state of Battlefield 5, I had to put competing to the side because my brain couldn't handle the double suffering. So, so yeah, we've been just going forward with the events, but hopefully I can start competing again in the next Battlefield because my competitive self needs people to pew pew at.
Aren't you told?
I'm old? No, I'm a young soul. I'm a young soul.
I feel old.
Just kidding, man.
I go in right now to casters for Call of Duty, and they're all like 21, 22 years old. And I'm 31. So yeah, I get in there and I start talking about stuff and they're like, huh? Like, oh my God, you weren't even a freaking teenager yet when this was happening. So, I mean, yeah, so I definitely had that feeling to where when I go in and I cast with some of these other leagues or some of these other games, it does feel a little bit weird. I was actually really apprehensive of getting into Call of Duty. And shout out, I don't think he's watching, but shout out to Kamaka because he actually kind of pulled me more into casting Call of Duty and got me hooked up with some really cool guys from K7. So, but when I first got into it, it was like I was looking at kids that were casting and I didn't really mesh well with them in terms of co-casting in kind of, how everything was flowing and it didn't really feel right and whatnot. So yeah, age is going to play a role as far as for like what Code is doing. I think with the organizing standpoint, you can do that however long you want. But as far as like with me on casting, I definitely do feel like my years are numbered and I'm trying to do what I can.
Why?
I got some
Bro, you're good. What do you mean? Like, bro, you can always talk.
You can broadcast till you die. That doesn't matter.
You can still get carried by me in pubs and still cast.
Hey, it's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. I can't really explain it, but when you go into a cast and your co-caster is 21 years old and they start throwing down, terminology and, puns and whatnot from pop culture, and I'm sitting there going like, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. I'm just gonna act like I know it and laugh.
You just need to download TikTok.
Move on.
Embrace the youth.
No.
Exactly.
And then the other part about it too is that I don't have the energy like I used to. Back when I was in my early 20s and I started casting, I would cast anywhere from I would get home at 4 in the afternoon. I would get something to eat. I would shower. I would clean up. At 6 o'clock, I would fire up my computer and I would start getting ready for the matches. 7 o'clock matches would start and I would cast until anywhere from 10 o'clock to 1 in the morning, and then get up and then I go to bed and then I'd wake up at 5 in the morning to go to work. So I was working on very little sleep. And I was doing that anywhere from 4 to, sometimes 6 days a week. And then on Sundays, every Sunday, I was doing Go For Cups for about 6 months straight. And Go For Cups, I would have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get ready for them. And I would cast all the way up until 1 in the afternoon. So there was a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. I can't do that anymore. And, kind of going back to what we started on with casters, if you want to get into a serious casting gig, I'm talking about like you're doing this full time and you're contracted and you're able to make a living off of this. That's the kind of effort and work that you are going to have to put in at the very beginning, not necessarily to gain the experience, but you're going to have to get eyes on you and you're going to have to start making connections and you're going to have to start making sure that you know the right people, because just like it is with anything, but especially within house, because if you think about it, the casting world is very small overall. And in all of esports, there's very few broadcasters when you think about it in regards to like players and just the wider audience that's there. So it's a very small community. And if you don't know the right people, or if you're not friends with the correct people, doesn't matter how good you are, you can and will get passed up at times. So it's one of those things to where you're just going to have to work your ass off, do as much as you possibly can. Now, I'm not saying work your ass off for free. I did that. I would not recommend doing that. But
I think to start, it's okay, but once
don't let yourself get taken advantage of at the same time. But you are going to have to put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to get anywhere when it comes to casting.
But yeah, I think for casting, Brett, I'll agree that do it because it's the same way to organizing. Do it because you're passionate about it, and then everything else will come. If you're not passionate about it and you're just there for, like he was saying earlier, the quick buck, wrong thing, wrong. Just go get a job somewhere. Like it'll be much more profitable that way.
Can we pick up the questions quick from chat before I forget all of them?
Let's go.
Sure.
Let's do it. Rapid fire. Bam.
Thortooth, he said a while ago, do you think, guys, that EA is even interested in taking Battlefield to the next, to become an esports game?
No.
No, not at all. We just need the tools so we can do it. I mean, COD,
Apex is our game.
If you remember, like COD had, because I remember I was playing COD 4, I was playing LANs. There was no support from Activision. Like, no, they didn't care. COD didn't start off with Call of Duty League or the Call of Duty World League as it used to be called. It was just a grassroots thing. But we had the tools. We had the tools so we could compete. We could organize stuff. It was awesome. You go to the LAN and just connect I remember we connected all the Xboxes together. We had a crazy wired setup and you could play.
If we wanted to sell Battlefield to invest in esport, what would be the selling argument? Why would this game be better? Why would they sell more copies? What is the argument for them to go full in this time? Because they tried a couple of times, but not really.
Yeah,
right now there is no reason.
But this is the problem. Like the only way you're going to convince them and you're going to have a compelling argument is if you go into all these KPIs that you can hit, whatever, while you're doing stuff. So if we have the tools, we can build up the community. What is it? The dev cycle, 2 years. The release cycle for Battlefield usually 2-3 years.
It's like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. So you give us the tools at the end of the year. As soon as the game launches, give us the tools. Let us work those 2 or 3 years with those tools from day one. Work with us. Give us working stuff. Take our feedback because I'm hoping I'm still going to be a game changer. So I'm hoping I'm still going to be able to give a lot of feedback as I usually do. And then just let us sell it to you at the end of that period. Be like, look, this is what we accomplished in 2-3 years without your support. Come support us and we can do a lot more. The moment you showcase them, like, look, we did, I don't know, 10,000 matches. You had X amount of reach. You had X amount of thing. And that's all organic. The moment a developer steps in and helps you boost that and adds it into the game, then you can showcase, okay, there's a reason to invest. Right now, the big problem is they fucked up incursions in Battlefield 1, and that was kind of their way of, let's do this, right? They fucked it up so bad that people stopped playing and they just dropped everything. And then they was supposed to come out for Battlefield 5, and that was dropped, right, during the summer. What was it, Gamescom 2019?
Yeah.
Because then we did the Zurich LAN right after, and we were hoping to do it on like Battlefield 5, but that was not a thing.
Yeah.
We didn't have servers at the time even. That was fucking great. Let's not remind me of that.
So basically, you have to provide good numbers first in order to get somebody like EA to support it. They have to see that there is going to be a monetary value to it before they will fully support it. The only reason they were pushing for it before was because EA wanted to have a multiplayer shooter for esports. At the time, they didn't have one. They wanted Battlefield to be that shooter, but it wasn't there. Now, Apex came along, and Apex was wildly successful. I think more successful than what they thought it was going to be. And because that is now able to be there for competitive shooter, and I think that the developers are a lot more willing to work in terms of the competitive scene, then they just went ahead and said, okay, we're dropping Battlefield. And if you noticed, a lot of the people that worked in Battlefield 1 for esports have moved over solely, and I'm talking about on the EA side, have moved over to solely Apex. That is their focus right now. So in my opinion, and this is an opinion that a lot of people don't like, it wasn't EA's fault that Battlefield was never successful. It was 100% totally on DICE's shoulder for not wanting to have a competitive variant of their game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't hear me clap because I have RTX voice on, but I'm clapping.
No, that's very interesting. I want to pull something up quick. I wanted to spare this topic for the very end. Or before we maybe hit that topic, and one last question: do you think I missed anything about like Battlefield esports, which you like to say to the very end from the technical perspective?
We could go on for hours about this. The topic has
Yeah, I
been,
told you, me and Brett
yeah, it's
are
so expansive, and there's so many years to cover and so many
I
different
know.
things
so much
about it.
suffering to
Yeah,
detail. Like,
it's really, I think we covered a pretty good amount of it here actually today.
Also, guys in the chat, I think I missed a question. I scrolled up, but I couldn't find it again. If anyone feels like I missed your question, just post it in now. Then we pick it up now. I'm so sorry.
Q&A.
I really couldn't pick it up anymore. Also, I need to switch the time as I feel they're coming too often. Let me pull this up, the screenshot quick. I found this on the website. You know which website I found it on, right?
Oh wow. What? This is some stalking stuff.
I
like,
know. I know. I'm always doing some research and I'm looking into every bit and byte.
This is not even like ESB related. This is Team USA Battlefield. Yes.
No, this is toxicity related. I would like to talk about something about the toxicity in point of the right now the active Battlefield competitive scene, and I have a few questions about that. Can you do me a favor, one of you? Can you read the second part quick? The second part, despite drama till be tolerated. Can one of you read that quick with your better English than mine?
Despite
yeah, sure.
drama, go ahead, Brett. Go ahead, cast your
Right.
voice. Let's go.
Despite
Customers.
drama between clans all over the community, Team USA pushes all drama, if any, aside. All of its members work together, prevail against other nations as a team. If you plan on applying, joining, supporting, take heavy note that any ego, disrespectful attitude, etc., towards anyone, whether a supporter, member, or team representing Team USA, will not be tolerated.
This is funny because this is from Team USA, and this was written by me and some other leaders back in Battlefield 3.
Yeah.
Like this is age-old text that is now there on the Team USA website that I created. Yeah.
Why I want to pick it up is what I really liked about it. It also hits this point of sport, of esport. You know, like like you said in the text, like you're bringing the best of the best player of the US of all these platoons who are normally hating each other together, and you have to put your ego beside and play the game for the common goal to win.
But hating each other is perfectly fine. Like.
Yes, but
Okay, put it this way. Why do people watch sports? Why are rivalries in sports so important?
I get it.
People watch esports because they want to be entertained. What's more entertaining than two teams objectively disliking each other? It's great. It's great for the content. It's great. It doesn't need to go outside of a certain threshold. Like, I always allow people to talk shit to each other. It doesn't have to go, like I said, there's a line you don't cross. Because there's a line that gets too personal, but people should be allowed to talk shit to each other after match. People should be allowed to say, you know, you suck and teabag the hell out of them. Like, when you play sports at a high level, the amount of shit I've had said to me and the amount of shit I've said to people, like, honestly, this shit in Battlefield is tame. Is tame as hell. I've had 4,000 people chant white boy at me in the US playing ball. This is tame. This is perfectly tame shit. Honestly, this is.
What about racism and bullying with the players?
I mean,
leagues?
racism, sexism, whatever. That's the line where we're saying we don't cross. But saying you suck or you're trash or you know, I don't know, you're a bitch. Okay. That's fine.
So let's say it's. I get it. It's. What about? Lines get crossed, and I mean lines obviously got crossed many times. Do you think platoons, because it can't be all by the leagues, I think it can't be all handled by the leagues. I think if you break it down, should platoons be also more responsible and handle their own players better?
Like I said, I think it depends what you're playing, what you're competing in. Like we have certain rules. Other organizers will have certain rules. Teams decide. I don't think the platoons thing is the right word, because if we're talking esports, we're talking teams. Platoons is like a Battlefield casual thing.
Yeah, then
if we're talking actual teams, then teams, for example, playing in like ESB League will be required to have certain attitude. Like, for example, I'll give you for example this during listen-ins, for the Battlefield, for the ESB League Season 4 playoffs, we did listen-ins. And at a certain point, you can hear Jordy say, like, oh, you guys are trash, this is too easy. That's great. I told them, like, I told all the teams and players before the playoffs started, we were doing listen-ins. Talk all your shit. Insult them, with, like I said, within reason. It doesn't have to be racist, homophobic. It doesn't have to be... There's a line you don't cross, like we were saying. But everything under that line, teabag, body shot, do it. It's fun to watch. Like, people cannot idolize people like Michael Jordan, who was the #1 shit talker in the world, and then be like, oh, he said I'm a bitch. What do you mean? Take it and respond. You know, like, there's so much hypocrisy in this regard. Like, this is what sports is made of. This is why Call of Duty League is so much fun to watch. All they do is talk shit to each other. It's amazing. It's amazing.
There is definitely a line, especially at LANs.
No, there's a line.
So
there's a line. I agree.
Here recently, there was an amateur Call of Duty LAN that actually got massive widespread coverage.
Yeah.
You know, you had people literally running across the venue, yelling and screaming in other people's faces. That is completely unprofessional. That right there, in my opinion, has absolutely no place in esports. And the guy should have been ejected right then and there. There should have been no ifs, ands, or buts. As far as like online play, in my opinion, you know, if you want to text that, you know, if you want to, you know, chat at somebody and say, dude, you're trash, or if you want to sit there and say, you know, oh my God, dude, this team completely sucks ass. Why are we even playing them? Whatever it is, that's fine. But now if you sit there and you start saying, you know, personally attacking that guy, you know, sitting there saying like, I don't want to say that word because that's, if you're talking about personal attacks, physically harming somebody or something like that,
I agree.
Then yeah, that's going too far. But I mean, if you sit there on a map and you get a sweet headshot on a guy and you run over to him and you put a couple extra bullets in the body, or if you teabag him or something like that, like that's just a part of the game. Because guess what? 9 times out of 10, that's coming back around in karma, baby. You're going to get shit on here in the same game. So it just happens. But yeah, as far as personal attacks on people, physical threats, anything like that, even if it's not like, you know, that person is never going to see them in person, it should not be allowed. I think that especially in an esports setting, if it is a league or if it is a team organization and that happens on social media, it needs to be dealt with. They need to sit there and say, look, no, you stop this right now, delete the tweet and shape up. If you continue it, then we're cutting you. We don't have any place for you, because the thing is that those moments, so for instance, that moment that I was talking about with the Call of Duty guys running across the venue. Okay, that organizer of the LAN has no affiliation with that team whatsoever. They probably don't know those players. They probably don't know that organizer past maybe just, you know, saying, hey, on media and talking to them through that regard. But they're not best friends. They don't know them, you know, personally. They don't go hang out with them. But the problem is that moment, that video is now immortalized and is basically, it is linked to that organizer from now on. Agreed. Any LAN, anything that guy does from now on, that is going to be in his history. And because he didn't take care of it, because that was a buildup. It didn't start out like that. That wasn't the first moment. They were doing some pretty bad trash talking beforehand.
They enabled it.
Exactly.
The organizers enabled it.
If they had taken care of it before it got to that point, none of this would have been a problem. So when you think about, in my opinion, when you're talking about should organizations, should leagues, whatnot, take care of this toxicity, yes, I do think that they should. I think that they need to look at it and they need to say, do I want people throwing physical threats at other people? Or do I want people, you know, sitting there calling, you know, racist names or sexist names or whatever it is at a particular person because of who they are as a, you know, say they're, you know, a woman or they're trans or they're gay or whatever it is. If they're attacking them because of those reasons and trying to inflict some kind of emotional
any form of discrimination
harm,
is not okay.
Then absolutely, you should cut them out. You should say, you're done. You're never playing here again. I want nothing to do with you.
I agree. Like even if you look back at like the LAN we had in Zurich, like we were clear from the start that you guys could do, you could scream at each other, and a couple of teams did scream at each other, and like there was like incredible moments where you're in the heat of the moment, you just got that triple kill, whatever. Just gonna scream and say, you know, fuck it, whatever. But at the end of the game, everyone shook hands and everyone was fine, and we made them understand that there's a line you just don't cross, because I would have kicked them out, no problem. And if as an organizer, when you're in a physical event especially, you need to watch out for that, because you can't be the enabler You need to like kind of be
Yeah.
like the person cutting that.
But you have to say there was a very specific moment you had there. You had the people in front of you. They could see each other. They could talk to each other. You had this event created around them. I think right now what we see on social media and Discord, and people are still anonymous and feel they can say whatever they want to say.
No, I think what I was talking about extends to
Yeah, of
Discord
course.
and Twitter and whatnot. I mean, if you sit
I
there
know.
and you attack somebody for the color of the skin or because, you know,
I
their
got it.
sexual
I got
preference
it.
or whatever it is,
I want
then
to
yeah, you cut that out.
I wanted to say something else. I'm just saying, in these events, what we saw in Zurich, by the way, great videos.
Thank you.
I don't think you will see this kind of toxicity there, because these are like staged events. There's only
No,
like,
no,
I think,
but like
16
Brett was
players or
saying,
something.
but like Brett was saying, like the recent COD LAN had that event because the organizers didn't do a good job at setting those boundaries. And when you don't set those
I
boundaries
see.
and you don't intervene, you enable that behavior and you make that
Okay.
behavior okay. The moment you don't do that as an organizer, you're part of the problem. Like
Yes.
I made sure that I'm not fucking. People know I love talking shit as in a friendly way. I love having them talk their shit. I love having them compete, but I don't tolerate certain things, and I will kick people out. I don't care. Your team can play with 4 people. I really don't care. I have no problem grabbing you, 95 kilos, just shoving you outside the door, kicking you out. No problem. No problem at all. And people know, like, even in the ESB Discord, I always allow people to talk shit after the match as long as there's a line they don't cross. The moment they cross that line, I'll mute them. I've had some people muted for like a whole year, or I've banned people. There's no problem. They know that there's a line they don't cross. The moment they cross that line, it's okay. I think some people, there's the opposite problem. Some people get too butthurt over the stupidest things. Like people message me like, he teabagged me in a match. Bro, come on. What are we doing? You want to talk about the COD 4 lobbies when people, were playing back in the day? Like, there needs to be a good balance of this. And I think whatever you compete in, there's going to be people talking shit. Like, it's human nature. It's fine. Like I said, there needs to be a balance. So
You
as
need
long
to
as that
take
balance
the.
is there, we're not handing out participation trophies. We're trying to compete, whether it's for money, whether it's for a title, whether it's for whatever your place in the competitive history for your game. That's normal. People are emotional. People are whatever, you know.
And
But
I think too for Battlefield, it's in other games that may be small like Battlefield right now, it's really hard to kind of make that distinction because, in let's say Call of Duty, I know we're using it as an example a lot, but it's a really good one. You have a huge casual player base that plays that game. And then you have a much smaller, but a fairly still big competitive amateur player base. That amateur player base is not going to mix in with that casual player base because they have their own leagues. But in Battlefield, and in Call of Duty has its own communities as well. But in Battlefield, a lot of times the communities in Battlefield also try and play in some of these competitive events. And so you have that mix between the hardcore competitive players that are going to shit talk, that are going to just destroy you as a player and then make fun of you, mixed in with the casuals who are just there to try and have some fun. And because there's not that distinction there, and I'm not saying that the casuals can't play with the hardcore, but because it's so small and because that mix happens so often, I think you do have a lot more opportunity for drama and toxicity claims to pop up when there really isn't much toxicity there in some sense, like what Code was talking about, where they're just complaining about the smallest of things.
yeah, but I also agree with the thing that we were saying earlier that captains have a responsibility for their players. Like, especially like this is what people need to realize. Like, ESB can police what people are saying through our official channels, but I can't be going around like doing police work. Who said something on some random account, platform, whatever. Like, we can do our best, but if it starts with the captains telling people like, this is a fine line. This is a fine line. You can do this, but then you have to behave a certain way because you're representing our team. But obviously, this is different also because you have smaller teams that are just, they're not orgs, so you have a different kind of approach to that as well. So, and this is funny because this goes into cheating as well. Like, people like using like whether it's Exim on console, whether there are people using hacks on PC or whatever. Like your teammates will know you're using these, and the fact that you're allowing these people to compete on your team, you're enabling that behavior and you're making it okay. So that's it's the same. It's the same kind of like discussion.
Can you see crossplay as a um, well in the ESB league?
I mean, as long as
Like
it's
that you play together, like
if it's
basically.
crossplay between consoles, sure. No, I don't think crossplay between PC and console makes any sense.
I
Hmm.
think crossplay from inputs is what you really need to say.
Yes. Well,
I think
well, wait, well, no, I disagree. The reason I disagree is because it all depends on what specs these games run on the specific consoles. Because if, for example, like we've seen in the past, these, I don't know, let's take Battlefield 5 for example. Battlefield 5 is capped at 60 frames per second on even on the PS5. Now it's on the Xbox. I think they just boosted it to 120 hertz the past few months, right? So that's a little bit different now. But Battlefield 5 launched with 60 hertz on all the consoles, right? On PC, you could have people playing like 240 hertz if they wanted to. Okay, 140 or even just 140 is enough of a difference still to be like you have a crazy advantage over me. So even if I'm playing on a controller on my PC and I'm playing like Jordy that's on console playing at 60, he has such a big disadvantage that it's unreal. So I think it actually should be you play on PC, you play whatever you want, you play on a console, you gotta play with a controller, and you're just playing with console players. Because I mean maybe they have 20 hertz on console, and then that's maybe a different argument we can have. But until that's a reality, until we have more details about that, then I don't agree with just sorted out by input. I think it should be just sorted out by platform. I think the PlayStation and Xbox communities would greatly benefit from crossplay, and it would make our life so much easier. Like honestly, like you could have double the teams for events. You would only have to handle one section of the events. You wouldn't have to do separate Xbox and PlayStation leagues that we've done all these years. And you could have your console event and you could have your PC event. You would just be running two separate categories. That would be perfect. Obviously, then it's sorted by country and or region or continent. But yeah, that would really be great.
so.
Chat
I
likes
agree
it
with
as well. Yeah.
I agree with Code to an extent. I think that I still think inputs would be, in my opinion, the deciding factor on that. But um, for Battlefield, at the very least, esports would definitely benefit. But I think community events as a whole would be benefit even more. And Code and I have talked about this before in the past. I'm not going to get too far into it, but we've talked about holding, some 64 player events and
Oh yeah, for
whatever
sure.
this next game may have 120 or 100 or whatever it is that they're talking about maybe having having these large scale events. And if you can actually build a community up where you're adding in all platforms to be able to participate, that is
Oh, for
huge.
community events, I
It
agree.
is
If
so
I'm talking about
huge.
like more competitive
Yeah,
stuff,
but
I feel like
as comp, because I mean, so right now I am seeing, so right now when I'm casting Call of Duty, we have a mix of PC and console players that play.
mhm.
And I have seen the console players who do play, and I'm not saying that there isn't any advantage out there, but the console players that I have seen that have played can more than hold their own in a game. In fact, a lot
Yeah,
of
but
times
you're
they're
you're
top of
still
the
playing at a
lobbies that are in there.
disadvantage.
I
Like
didn't
that
say
playing
I didn't say that there
60.
wasn't any. I'm just saying I don't know if I agree if it's as big as what you're kind of making it out to be.
I think when you get to a higher level, but this thing, I think when you get to a high level, what's the difference maker? And that's a difference maker. Like, but the fact that you're saying double my frames is like huge. Like it's actually unreal. Like the difference it makes when you're talking about getting kills for 1 or 2 frames of a difference. It's
I
enormous.
agree, but when you're talking about a $500 league, I don't think that that is a big deal. I think that it would matter more to get more numbers, to get a bigger community in there than it is to try and sit there
But
and
I
talk
think
about
you,
a
you know what
few
the thing is.
frames.
I think COD is so different because of the way COD is. Like we're talking about aim assist. We're talking about literally like, or are you talking about just everyone playing on a controller? Is everyone playing on the same input, or people are
Yeah,
using a
that's what I'm
mouse as
saying.
well?
Everybody plays on the same input. Everybody plays on
Sure.
controller.
I mean, I guess that I understand what you're saying, but I still think double the frames is at a high level a big enough amount. Like you're saying, doesn't make as much of a difference when you're playing with the lower teams. That's not a noticeable different at the lower divisions. But when you have like I don't know PLG versus Chaos, and one team is playing 120 and one team's playing at 60, that you're gonna notice that difference. Wow,
Stupid question. How do you make sure everyone is playing on controller?
it's impossible.
It's impossible to
Literally
do it
impossible.
online. I mean, it's
Online,
one
it's
of those things to
impossible.
where right now in Call of Duty leagues, they require you to have basically hand cams, and you have to actually stream with the view of
Yeah.
your controller being used as you're playing. And that's really the only way that you can kind of police that at the moment. Now, you know, a couple years ago, there was some articles and some talk about Microsoft coming out with a way for developers to actually build it into their game to where they could not use, you know, other input like what do they call them? Code the things that make
Signal
you make keyboard.
converters.
What was it?
Signal converters.
No, they got a specific name for it that's used all the time. Anyways, yeah, so like the little stick that you plug in, then you plug your controller into it, and or
Like
your
a
keyboard.
Zim, whatever.
Zim, yeah. So they were supposed to have a way to where developers could actually block out the ability to use Zims as a third-party tool for your keyboard and mouse. So it would, because basically what it does is it tricks your console into thinking that your keyboard and mouse are just putting in controller inputs.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's still a thing. I don't know if that's still something that they're pursuing.
Still a thing.
But,
I mean, Fortnite did it. Fortnite actually managed to detect the Zims for a while, and that shit got patched by the people running the Zims, and then I think they just gave up. It's like a cheating battle. It's the same thing.
You know as well as I do when it comes to cheating like that, and that is cheating. It's going to be a system to where they come out with something, and then the other guys come out with something. And then
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing. So is it, you know, the only way you can really fight this is to bring the majority of stuff offline. So you have an online scene and you decentivize the fact that you're the use of these, you know, cheating peripherals because you're trying to qualify for the LAN. So it doesn't make sense that you're training thousands of hours with the mouse if then you're gonna have to go to the LAN where the majority of the money is won and get dicked because you're using a controller all of a sudden. So that's the only way. That's the way COD does it. And the people that are like, oh, but Zims and Cronus, that's a Battlefield problem. No, it's not. It's a problem in COD. It's a problem in Rainbow Six. It's a problem everywhere. And if these billion-dollar corporations can't fucking figure it out online, how the fuck do you expect me to figure it out online? You know, the resources are much smaller. So I think people need to be realistic. We're trying to bring stuff offline. The idea is to keep bringing stuff offline. So we'll keep decentivizing the use of these cheating things, but there's only so much you can do. You can do hand cam stuff. You can do a bunch of stuff, but
yeah, I think right now the hand cam is probably your best solution because it's really hard to sit there and fake that out. I don't think there is a possible
and
way
it's so easy.
But even there,
and it's so
it only
easy
makes
to do
sense
it as
that-
well. It doesn't even cost that much money.
Yeah, especially with today's day and age, with how good the internet is overall and how easy it is to stream. It's nothing to take a webcam and point it directly down and stream. It doesn't take up a whole lot of resources, and it's very easy to do.
For higher level events, the webcam thing makes sense. But what you can't do is have everyone hand cam on like smaller events. It doesn't make sense. Like it just resource wise, it's just impossible to like manage. Like it just isn't. Like if you want to do it, I don't know. Talking to example, like last season ESB League, you want to do like Division 1, everyone hand cam, and you're looking at that. But the moment you're trying to do like a Go For Cup, for example, and you have 128 teams, good luck with that. Like, good luck with that.
I don't know, Code. I think it would be a lot easier than what you think it would be because, you know, I remember a day and age to where it was required to play in any cup to have to record my video. And, you know, I don't see it being a ludicrous idea if you're going to be playing competitively, even for like a Go For Cup, to sit there and say, you need to stream this. And then if I call you and say, I need this stream, because that stream is going to have a timestamp on it. It's going to have a timestamp and a length on it. And to sit there and say, okay, I need this stream, boom, here it is. And to be able to call that up. Because that's what we used to have to do with our recorded videos. You know, when I played in TWL in CEVO, when I played in Alienware League, all those type of things, I had to record every single match that I played. And if I ever got accused of hacking, which I was never that good to be accused of hacking, then I would have to provide that video to the admins. I mean, I think it would be much the same way.
I think it's possible. I think it depends for the scale of the event. Like I said, for the smaller, like higher level stuff, I completely agree. For the lower stuff, it's hard to manage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I also think not everyone has the right setup. Like I know a lot of players. Like even I don't know. Just give an example of my lone
You can
wolf
stream from your phone.
Hey, Connie, how you doing?
That's actually true nowadays. You can actually do that as well.
I mean, it's so easy now, and it doesn't have to be 1080p quality. You can do 480p capture on your phone, make it look down at your hands, and as long as you can see that, yeah, he is using his hands, and make sure that the timestamps line up with the date and time, then there you go.
Just use a towel or something to put in between your controller and your legs. It looks better. I saw so gross stuff, man, over the time. But yes.
Well, hopefully they're not playing naked. That would just be awkward.
Sometimes you're not sure, man. No, but that's great, guys. Guys, we are about to hit the end here with this podcast. It was quite a journey tonight. I hope you really enjoyed what we did today. Do you have any last questions in chat? Then please let us know now. What was that? There was a question. I saw something. What if you like me and already using your phone to give internet to your PC? No, that's not for us, this question, I think.
No, that's Slendy being a smart ass.
What it's like?
Can I be a caster? Bloody, we talked so much about it. Don't bring this question up. Of course you can be a caster.
Bloody, you cannot be a caster, Bloody. Get wrecked. Yeah, like Catalyst, you see, Catalyst is kinky. We call him Mommy USA.
Yeah? Why?
Because he helps me lead Team USA.
Yeah, I know. I saw him there on the website as well. Cheating in comp?
There's always going to be cheating in whenever you play. But Aviator 5v5, pick one for you. Okay, if you want esports, in the pure definition of esports, it has to be 5v5 There's no way you can do anything more. It's just not doable unless the actual developer is like, here, I have a ton of money to just burn. Have fun. That's not happening. We already don't have servers. We want servers. That's already a big thing. Nothing's stopping everyone from doing 8v8 online events, and we'll be doing them as well, hopefully, and larger stuff. We've done 16s, But if you want like pure esports and you getting paid to play and you winning actual like money to sustain you, maybe playing semi-pro or almost full time, it's 4v4 5v5. Even 6v6.
I'll give you a good example of this. Overwatch has moved back to 5v5.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I didn't want to say that because there's probably more to it, but even Overwatch.
But you have to admit that probably part of it is logistics, money, contracts, all that kind of stuff. Like there is a whole lot that goes into it. It's
in general, it's much easier also to cover the footage and everything, the players. It's a lot of
8v8. He's saying 8v8 LAN window. Yeah, but what places have a place for 8 people in a row? Like the existing like venues in the world, unless you're making your own venue in the middle of a stadium, they're set up for 5v5. So if you want to work with these brands, you can do 4v4, you can reduce it, you can do 5v5. But even 6v6 becomes a problem in a lot of places because they don't have the space. Like you gotta be realistic about these things. I know you want to hope and I'm just crushing your dreams, but this is just the reality. In the end, it's a business and it's just not doable shoving 8 people against 8 people. And they're like, yeah, but Battlefield did the 32 versus 32. Yeah, but that was a show match and that was a marketing thing. It's different. Like, let's not mix apples and oranges.
Yeah, that was also funded by Microsoft, so they had money to throw away.
But that's the thing, dudes. I think if the competitive scene would understand more the process of the stuff you are doing, for example, it would maybe help also with their constant complaints, And
I mean, they don't ask me because I always reply to everyone that asks me. I mean, they don't ask.
And
I'm an open book. I stream every night. Just come to my stream. Know how many people do that and ask me questions all the time? It happens.
Well, that's because they
They're
don't want
just
to
not-
watch your shitty gameplay.
Well, it's only shitty because I'm carrying your little ass. Because now you're a caster and you're too old.
Dude, what are you talking about? The last time we played, you actually were like, dude, Brett, are you sure you're using a controller? You're like top of the scoreboards.
Under me, but I was impressed that you were doing much better than
dude,
before.
I was like a few kills under you. And not only
Doesn't
that,
matter. No one
the
remembers how
keyboard
much
name.
you were down under. It just matters that you were under. Do you remember? Do you remember how much the score was for the championships Michael Jordan was? No, you just remember he won. That's all that matters. The win doesn't matter by 1, by 10, by 1.
That's very true.
What is okay? Sorry, I'm reading chat. If the next title is great, what are your plans for ESB? Yeah, I love Brett too much.
I'm taking over the show.
shit
I have to switch topics quick.
Me and Brett have been friends and working together for so long that we love talking shit to each other. If the next Battlefield title is great, what are your plans for ESB? Will it be much bigger than it is now? Okay, so I am not going to talk about ESB's future plans, but I think Season 4 was a hint enough that we're aiming high, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Sorry, I was answering a random question. What did you say? I completely didn't listen.
Someone asked what our future plans for ESB was. And
I wanted to ask that as well. What are your future plans? That was too short of an answer. Repeat it.
Like I said, we have a lot of future plans. It obviously hinges on the game being good, and it hinges on us having servers on day one, or at least within the first few weeks. It doesn't have to exactly be day one. People still need to figure out what to do in the game.
Okay, let me ask you this. Will you let us know when you have anything to tell about your future plans?
I mean, look, put it this way. I don't like to empty promise in the sense that I don't like to say, ESB is going to do this, ESB is going to do that.
But you could say what you would like to do.
Global domination. No.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about what we like to do, yeah, we're going to have $1 million LAN that's going to encompass, 32 teams across the world. And we're going to do it over a 1-week period of time with, a $2 million production. And we're going to have, seats opened up for, 5,000-6,000 people to watch live. But
there you go. I mean, obviously,
keep going. Finally, we're getting there.
We can say that, or we can be realistic in the sense that I don't like to hype people up for no reason. Obviously, I just like to prove that we're doing stuff and that we're aiming high. I think what we did with the studio recently was a perfect example of the production level we can achieve. That's even that's no fun. That's pretty much zero funding production. So if we actually have money to put into that production, then that production honestly looks better than a lot of proper esports streams out there. And then I think the LAN was a good showcase of what we wanted to keep doing, and I've said that we want to keep doing stuff offline. So I think we'll just keep striving to make everything bigger and better and uniting everything under one front. I know it's very hard for people to be like, yeah, but ESB this, but we're just trying to do stuff right. We're trying to make it so that everything is sustainable, that the company is at least breaking even. I don't have to make money off of this. I have a day job, but it has to at least break even so that I'm not funding it and I'm not working to fund community stuff. That's not the point. So it's easy for someone to be like, here, I have extra money aside. Here's $1,000 for an event. And they're going to be like, why is ESB not doing that right away? That's not the point, right? We're a company. It has to make sense. So when we can do stuff and the game is out and we have the tools and we can do stuff, and then we have to make it sustainable. So I know it's a little different for people to understand this, and I try to be as open about it as I can without divulging stuff that I can't. But we're always working on stuff, and we're always, as people have seen, trying to get better and do bigger and better things. And we have a great group of passionate people that are staffing everything. So we're lucky on that side of things as well.
Does ESB has a gaming house?
I mean, not really, in the sense that we have the studio stuff. We have some kind of gaming house, but it's not like an official thing. It's more like something I built with a friend that we've used in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not there yet as a company. But hopefully in the future, maybe, you know, like I said, we're trying to do things right. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just waiting for the day that Code sits there, calls me up and says, all right, Brett, we're going to go ahead, give you $100,000 a year for you to be our full-time caster.
I can't wait to that day, because if I'm giving you $100,000, you know how much money I'm making? Let's go. I literally cannot wait to give you $100,000, because if I can give you that, bro, I am literally here. Hold on. I am literally chilling over here.
Let's go. No, that is fun, guys. That's really fun.
Someone asked me to do a hot tub stream. Honestly, if you guys tip on my Twitch, I can make that happen.
Yeah. I hope you guys gave. Let me give her the messaging. Let me put the messaging.
I'm a nudist at heart, so I have no problem with hot tub stream.
So you gotta watch him in a hot tub stream playing FIFA.
I mean, we can do hot tub stream Battlefield reveal. I'm up for that.
All right.
You can see the
I missed Chicken's hot tub stream last Thursday. He promised one, and I missed it.
I'm trying to read everything, because we were blabbing around for so long that I missed a lot of the chat.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Someone asked for your battle log. He's trying to slide into your battle log.
He said battle log, so it's Battlefield 4, right? I mean, I gave him my old battle log.
Hot Tub Esports. I approve.
Have fun with that.
No comment on Season 5 or not. I guess you guys will have to wait and find out. But you guys better start the PC League again. I mean, this is a big thing. I'm always down to support PC. I love supporting PC. I love supporting every platform. But people need to sign up. If I'm posting events and you guys are not signing up, I cannot do stuff. And I'll tell you this. And this is going to make you guys salty, but this is going to be a lesson for the future. When we did ESB League Season 3, I think it was Season 3, I clearly wrote in the article, and this was open to PC as well. I clearly wrote in the article, the activity from this season will help us shape our plans for the future. And PC players didn't sign up. If PC players would have signed up, you guys would have had a pretty nice prize pool as well. But you guys didn't, and so we just let that part of it, you know, rest in peace for now. So.
Well, I think in the end it's a big circle, and the first thing first, we need a game that works. We need private servers, and when this is actually there, the numbers will go up, and then it will be easier for you as well to find the teams.
I'm not worried for Battlefield 5 for next Battlefield. I'm saying just the way it was for Battlefield 5. Like, people need to realize, if people sign up, we make numbers. We show the numbers to our partners or potential partners, and we can make stuff happen, and we can plan around it. If people aren't signing up and are just being entitled and be like, ESB needs to do this because 5 years ago ESL did something for PC, so ESB owes us, you're getting it wrong. Like, that's just not how shit works. You show up, you get dedicated, and I mean, in general, I'm not worried about the next Battlefield. Like, Battlefield 5 was just a bit of a shit show, and I know the PC community suffered because of it, and that's nothing we can do. We tried doing what we could, but if people, like, not enough interest and people prefer doing other things, there's nothing we can do about that. But I'm just saying, in general, like, it's a numbers game. People sign up, play, show they're dedicated. That allows us to plan. If we can plan, we can make bigger things happen. But if people aren't doing the first step, we can't just say, like, okay, let's do a 2,000 euro PC league, but we don't have PC teams. So what am I doing? I'm convincing people on, like, based on numbers that don't exist, just not possible. Like, we need to be realistic about this kind of stuff. PlayStation, on the other hand, has been super consistent. It was easy, you know, putting stuff to allocating resources to that and planning for that.
But you also were a PS4 player, right?
Yeah, I mean, I play everything.
Yeah.
I played BF3 on PC and PlayStation 3. I have my Xbox here. I have my PlayStation. I'm with PCs. Like, I play everything. I want to support everyone, but people need to realize that it's you give and I give. I can't give if you don't come first.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work. No one came to me and went like, here, Codename, here's $50,000. Do something for everyone. I wish, but it's not not how it works. I have to work hard, get the numbers, and then be like, hey guys, these are our numbers. Can we do something? that's just how it works. So people need to realize that and put a little bit more dedication into it, especially because we're a grassroots esports. We're not Fortnite. We're Epic Games making billions of dollars off skins, and they're like, here's like 2 million. We don't care. This is like pocket money. That's not the esport we're at. So if you're comparing how various scenes work, and you're being like, why is this not happening to us? Then you're just not understanding why it works that way, right? So I want to do stuff for everyone, for literally everyone. But the people need to work with me. If they don't work with me, it's really, really hard.
Well, let's see. Let's hope there will be some changes. I see your thoughts. You're very skeptical using historical facts and extrapolations. I mean, it's good to be skeptical. I think, but it also, if you don't worry, because it doesn't make sense to worry about something you don't know what's going on or how it will be. So right now, I think the only thing we can do is really just chill and wait and hope. And if you guys, again, we will come to an end now. If you have any last questions at all, now is the time. We will look for somebody to share the laugh with. Do you guys, Brett and Deuce, do you have any last words for us for tonight, for this beautiful Sunday evening?
Well, I mean, as far as anybody out there that's looking to get into casting, as I said before, just go out and do it. Obviously, get the permission of the leagues, make sure that you're following the rules. Most leagues now have, rule sets and regulations for people who are casting. So just go out there, ask them. Most of the time, they're more than willing to get you in there. You are going to have to work your butt off. As Code said, this is not something that you're going to be making easy money at real quick. If you want to make money at it, then you better just be ready to be disappointed for the first year or so before you see really any gains whatsoever. So, but just go out there, work your butt off, be passionate about the game that you're casting, enjoy it. And for those who are looking forward to the next Battlefield esports, just make sure that you keep your expectations in check. Don't expect the world here. Don't expect DICE to all of a sudden deliver on everything that we've been wanting to have. Keep your expectations grounded in reality and understand that they're not looking at this from a competitive viewpoint or even a community viewpoint. They're looking at this as the casual player who's going to pick up the game every once in a while and play it. So have fun with Battlefield. I'm going to have fun with the next Battlefield. I'm excited for it in the sense that it's going to give me something to grind with my friends again, and that's something that I've desperately missed here these last couple of years.
Closing words from me. I think the biggest thing is we're all one community, and esports can only be successful if we're all working together, regardless of platform. That's always been our mission with ESB. So if you're actually passionate about esports, or you have questions, or you have doubts, talk to me. I'm literally the most accessible person out here. Like, I may take a day to respond just because I get flooded with DMs every day. I probably get like 50 to 60 people on my DMs every day, and that's fine. That means it takes time because I do stuff during my day to respond to everyone. So it usually takes me 24 hours to respond to most people. And if I miss a message me again. It's easy to miss messages. But, talk to me. I'm always available. I'm always, open to talk about stuff. Work with us. We're doing this for the community. We don't really gain anything from this. We're doing this out of pure passion. We've been doing it for the past 8 years. But there's a lot of blood and sweat into all of this that people don't realize because they're like, oh, this must be easy. But it really isn't, especially doing it at a consistent level every week, every month, every day for 8 years in a row. Most people, most whatever don't last not even a year, let alone become an actual company. So just work with us. We want the community to succeed, but if you help us and you're behind us, then it only makes our life easier instead of us having to chase you guys around. Yeah, there you go.
I like that.
Yeah, and appreciate you, Mizzy, for having us on.
Yes, thank you
this
for
was a fun
listening
talk.
to us rant.
I enjoyed it, always enjoy it, and appreciate you reaching out.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining me here. It was definitely something I wanted to talk about all the time and finding the right people. And I think it went pretty good today. I liked it, and I think it's important that we talk about it, even though it doesn't matter if the for me, it doesn't matter if the chances are high or not. For me, it's important that we talk about it because it's clearly on some people's mind within the community, and I mean, only because DICE is not talking about it, EA doesn't mean we can't talk about it, right?
Yep.
Agreed. Yeah, we appreciate the platform to talk about it and rant about our, experience over all these years.
Let's do it another time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.